Good morning, Tempo Freaks and Raptor Freaks. We are here to react to the first ever regular season game in the WNBA for the Toronto Tempo, which occurred last night at Coca Cola Coliseum between the Washington Mystics and the Toronto Tempo. And unfortunately, the home team did not win, but there are very clear reasons why. And we're going to talk about that all today. We've got the stars of the game, we've got the Raptors Redditor of the day. We've got the straight goods on Canadian goods. We've got the classic card. We've got the Toronto Tempo Raider of the day. We've got all the daily stuff we do on this channel. It's Tempo Freak channel. Let's go to the game and talk about it. Yeah, the energy last night was amazing. The crowd was awesome. I think that the thing that stood out to me the most about what I heard about the crowd last night was, unlike the Raptors' inaugural home crowd, which was in a weird building, Skydome, the crowd was very knowledgeable of the game of basketball. I'm proud of that, you know? There's WNBA fans that really nerd out about WNBA and really get into the really intricate stuff about it. And that's cool. In some ways, I really like that. That shows the passion and just how in depth and just how much people will care about this team. And that is awesome. I love that so much. But yeah, it seems like Americans that came up for the broadcast or people that were just around, they all said they were impressed with just how much the Tempo crowd, for being a rookie crowd, first game ever, was just really with it and knew what they were talking about and knew what they were doing. We did hear the defense chants and the let's go Tempo chants, reminiscent of the Raptors chants that Marina Mabry was hoping she'd hear in that arena. She said, I hope that they can do synchronized chants. Well, Marina, they did the synchronized chants, and it was pretty good. And we saw a lot of gear on the crowd at the arena also. In fact, a fantastic opening game shirt was given by Kilmer Group, and the Toronto Tempo was fantastic. What a great shirt, man. What a great shirt. First ever a game shirt. And the people that were able to go to that were awesome. In some ways, I'm pissed off because the Tempo did a dumb thing with dynamic pricing. And there were a lot of empty seats in that building that they could have filled if they'd done this better. Some of it has to do with the stupid, well, they're good rules, but they changed while these were on sale. The new ticket rules in Ontario about not being able to resell. Now, I don't really think these rules are good for the consumer because basically they cut out the ability for the everyday person to make a profit off their tickets at this point. So in some ways it may hurt ticket sales in the long run because people will sometimes buy tickets not just for themselves to go, but they like to buy them, and if they can't go to games, they like to sell them to other people. So in some ways that market's effectively closed. You could be a scalper on the street though and still do it. It's just it's off electronic. But yeah, it's too bad that they didn't have exactly a packed house because of dynamic pricing. And that's the problem there. It's like it's one thing for a reseller to up the price and sell it, but when the entity that sells the tickets originally is changing the prices according to, this surveillance pricing bullshit that's going on these days, that's no good. That's no good. But either way, it's sad because I would have liked to go to the game, and leading up to the game, the prices were just not reasonable, and it's because of that. Which it's too bad. It's too bad. But there were a lot of people in attendance at this game. A lot of important people like the WNBA commissioner Kathy Engelbert and Larry Tannenbaum and his wife, and of course Masai Ujiri was there with his son watching the game also as a principal owner of the Toronto Tempo. But yeah, there were other guests there too. We'll go over that in a little bit. But yeah, I'm going to do 5 stars of the game. I would do 3 on a loss normally, but this was such an epic, important game. I'm going to do 5 stars. And I have a lot to talk about with this game. I watched it very closely and intensely. The 2 preseason games were both going on during Raptors playoff games, and it was really, really hard to watch the Tempo games without keeping an eye on the Raptors playoff game. And the other thing about that was, the teams that played in preseason weren't really the real Tempo. Those were tryout teams The people that played a lot in those games were people that some of them really got cut. So there wasn't the true tempo in the preseason games because we didn't see Marina Mabrey. We didn't see, a couple of the young stars that were coming over like Maria Conde. So yeah, it was interesting. The Tempo have 5 rookies, and the Mystics are the youngest team in the league. They average like 22 per age. And Austin, the center for them, Kyra Austin, the one that we put an offer sheet to, and the Mystics matched. Well, you could see why she would have been very helpful to the tempo of the season and what she did in her performance last night. She was very Shakish with her motions and power, and the ability to stop her is very, very tough. But yeah, it was a weird thing where even though we have experience, even though we may have a couple players that are more polished and talented, been in the WNBA for years, and they only had like one vet in Austin and a bunch of rookies and second year players. The big difference for this game yesterday is very simply this. The Mystics have been together, all of them together for at least a year, if not 2 years, because you got to think about it. Sure, there's some rookies that just got drafted, like Lauren Betts and Dugalic, and the little point guard that came in later in the game. But for the most part, there's a lot of a core that has worked together from last year, and you can see it in Citron and Austin, and they have things worked out, like where they played together before and done stuff. They've been together. We could say like a year at least. A lot of the Mystic players, we could say they've been here at least a year. Well, the Tempo have been together for a week, and that's not as long as a year. So familiarity and understanding different teammates' tendencies, their sweet spots, the way they like the ball passed to them, the way that they may call out for screens or anything like that. None of that is figured out yet, and you could see the chaos amidst the game last night of the Tempo players trying to sort out their offense and really not being on the same page in a whole lot of ways. But that's not Sandy's fault. That's not the players' fault. In some ways, it's the CBA's fault. It'd be one thing if we could have had this expansion draft in December and the regular draft in December and had a regular training camp of 3 months or something where Sandy could actually work with the players for months leading up to this. And this is part of the hugest challenge of the CBA delay and everything just fallen into place for this season in the last month, is that the Tempo did not get any chance to ramp up familiarity, gelling, or chemistry. And they're going to have to do it on the fly during the regular season. And this is going to be the kind of thing where, they'll have competitive games like they did last night, but they're not going to be able to know how to close games together as a unit, because the familiarity is just not there yet. This is why gelling and teamwork works best when, you know your team. And a lot of them do not know each other yet, and they have to learn each other, and they'll get better. This is very much the ground floor. This is the roughest of the rough drafts of the Tempo offense, and it's going to get worked out more and more as time goes on. This will be a big thing in the next 4 days before we play Seattle next Wednesday. How much can Sandy implement and really work on during that time? Marina Mabrey saying stuff in the post-game news conference that, getting on the same page and bonding as teammates off the court helps your chemistry on the court. And that makes sense. We see it with the Raptors that, they need to be hanging out with each other, getting to know each other better. Hopefully everybody likes each other. And that will show on the court in connection, because it was bad, man. There was like a lot of passes that were just to nowhere and nobody there to get them. And there's just a lot of like disconnection and not really working in syncopation with each other and just kind of going on your own and doing things. Meanwhile, the Mystics had a few plays that they play off each other, especially with Citron coming around the screens and getting open shots off of big bodies like Austin. So, it's just really, we got to get our stuff together. And we are at very much page one. Page one. It's almost like if this is writing a novel. And, I talk about the process of rebuilding towards a championship for the Toronto Raptors. Well, this is different. This isn't even like trade your players like Fred and OG and start over with Scotty. This is starting from scratch. And this is going to be expansion years. There's going to be some expansion years for Tempo, and they're not going to be easy. And if people are faint hearted and they want to win all the time, they're not going to want to follow this team for a little while because they're going to have a tough time winning. And it's nothing against the talent or the coach, Sandy Brondello, or the organization. This is the natural growing pains and the natural way that expansion teams are. They just are like this. The Valkyries were a weird exception, just like the Golden Knights of hockey. There's sometimes weird exceptions for weird reasons. And propping up the Golden State Valkyries, and now they're the most expensive team in the WNBA. Yeah, some of that's convoluted mess that was built to be like that. But the Tempo, they're going to have trouble for a while. And there's two reasons why. The disconnection that I've described already. And then the other one is they are thin as a paper bag up front. And this was a problem already in game one. We had both of our centers kind of make disappearing acts at different times. I mean, Sabali, it was really easy to see why Sabali had to leave was because she got the wind knocked out of her by Austin on one move underneath the basket. And she's just sitting there like this, and she had to come out. And Tammy, for some reason, kind of wasn't there for the middle of the game for some reason. I hypothesized that it is that she asked Sandy to not play her as much, and that she kind of was hitting her levels of conditioning where she is right now to start the season, and she wasn't ready to take the brunt of the big woman role on the team with the size of the Mystics being around, because the Mystics are a very big team for being so young. And that's one thing that Sandy said in the press conference after the game is like both teams didn't play very well and they're not very good right now, but they have size. They have size. And that's definitely something they had with Austin and Irfan and a couple of the other players. They have Betts. I mean, Betts is 6'7". They have size. So unfortunately, the Tempo are going to be in this problem that happens to Toronto basketball expansion teams where they're going to be undersized. And it's going to be a real battle against teams that have good, powerful, strong pivots like Austin or Wilson of the Aces. It's going to be a real battle for them. This isn't even a very good team we played last night, and they get a nice victory at the start of the season for their young core to feel good. This is not one of the harder teams. The teams we're going to play, like the Aces, the Fever, the Liberty, they're going to be huge tests. And the levels of different WNBA teams, we're going to see it very clearly in this Tempo season. We're going to see the hierarchy. And in some ways, it's the bottom of the escalator where we are. And we've got to figure out how to get the first step, the second step, and maybe we can get to some of those steps during this season. But it's going to take time. It's going to take time. All good things take time. And this team is going to need time to learn each other. That's the biggest thing right here. And they're going to improve immensely just from getting to know each other and finding camaraderie and a connection on the court. This is so important. But man, there was a plucky effort out there. There was a lot of good signs of good things. There's some good stuff about the Tempo, but there's also a lot of work, and this is going to take time, guys. Patience is a virtue with the Toronto Tempo right now. We've got the team. The team played their first game. This is a celebration for that. But getting regular wins on the regular is going to be tough. It's going to be a tough season for that. So strap yourself in there and just be a fan and enjoy the competition. And who knows, maybe the team will surprise us and get some wins in games that we would never thought they would get. That's the joy of basketball. But yeah, it's too bad they couldn't get the first game like the Raptors did. But, the refs were weird. They were weird. But in some ways, they did kind of facilitate for the Tempo to try and win it. But you don't have connection. You don't know each other. Late game situations when you're trying to execute together as a team in syncopation with each other. There's not the knowledge or the experience base for knowing what to do off of each other. I mean, there was a lot of confusion at the end of the game between people like Julie Alamone and Marina Mabry and Brittany Sykes about who should be doing what to cover what, because they just haven't sorted it all out. They don't have any time on the court working with each other. And this is literally a work in progress in the regular season because of this. So it's going to be an interesting year, but temper your expectations. In some ways, just watch basketball for the joy of watching basketball. When the early years of the Raptors were going on and they weren't expected to win very often, quite often it was just the joy of watching our team compete, even if they didn't win. And sometimes you enjoyed watching the other teams because you got to know more about the NBA. You know, when the Raptors would play Michael Jordan and the Bulls, that was a really exciting thing. And it'll be the same when we play Caitlin Clark and the Indiana Fever. So, you know, temper your expectations, Tempo fans, and be ready for it. I'm ready to explain what happened with Marina Mabry on the jump ball. I can tell you guys exactly why she did what she did. And the reason why is very interesting. But also at the same time, people are really misinterpreting it this morning. They think that Marina is very selfish, that she just walked out of the jump ball circle at a very crucial moment in the last seconds of the game. But you know what it was, guys? It's as simple as this. Marina Mabry's our best shooter. Marina Mabry's our best long distance shooter. There was 2.4 seconds on the clock when that jump ball was set up. She's the worst person to be doing the jump ball because she's the one who should be getting the ball off the jump ball to take the last shot. And that was why she did that. She factored it in her head that I'm not going to win this jump ball against this taller player. And in some ways, even if I win the jump ball, the 2.5 seconds aren't fast enough, are too fast for me to get the ball back to take the last shot. So she walked out of the jump ball circle so that she could be trying for a steal off their inbounds play. So that's an easier way for her to get the ball with the 2.5 seconds to get a ability to hit a clutch three to try and win it. And that was the reasoning right there. A lot of people didn't catch that. Why would Marina walk out of the jump ball circle like that? And everybody's like, she's sabotaging the team. She's crashing out. She's a bad personality. A lot of people are mad at her because of this. But if they understood the basketball logic of why she did it, you'd understand a little better. Because honestly, she is the absolute best option for a last second shot to try and win the game. But if she's going to be jumping the jump ball with 2.4 seconds to go, she can't get the ball to take the shot because she's jumping it. So that's what happened there. And in some ways, I totally get that logic. I figured it out right away. I know it was confusing for a lot of basketball fans who were like, why would she do that? That seems like such a selfish thing. That's not a team player. No, she was literally doing this so she could, and the logic is like, well, you're giving the ball to the other team. Yeah, but if they're able to get in the passing lane on the pass and she can take it, she can run down and hit that three in 2.4 seconds then. It didn't work out that way. And partly it's because, once again, they don't have their stuff together and they need time to get on the same page. They need time, like Sandy said after the game, we have to practice end of game situations. We haven't even done this yet. So it's like you're throwing ingredients on the table and you just expect it to make itself into dinner. You can't do that. You got to figure out the procedures and the way to do it to make it dinner. So the ingredients are on the table, but they're not going to go together in the way to make dinner because they haven't had the guidance or the coach figuring it all out and get them on the same page for what to expect and whose duties are what and all this kind of. That's the kind of crazy thing that this was. Is that they're trying to win a 3-point game in their first ever regular season game, and they have not had enough practice. They do not know each other. They do not know what they're doing. And so in some ways, it's kind of impressive that they only lost by 3 points. It's kind of impressive in some ways, considering that just how much they are not, it would have been nice if they'd really gotten at least 2 months to get together and work together this offseason to build into the season. So some of this is very much the delay of the CBA is what it is. All right, let me get into the chat and see what y'all are saying. This is part of the show here on the Raptors Freak, Tempo Freak show. It's a two-way street. And every comment gets read on here, whether it's good or not, the good or the bad and the ugly. Yeah, we get all of them. We get bad comments. We get tons of good comments. And we do get ugly comments too. But I'll read them all. And if you're a new fan to this channel, If you're a Tempo fan that just started watching Tempo and you want more Tempo content, well, I'm going to cover the team very intensely this whole season. And I will be talking about every single game. I'll be previewing and reacting to every single game this season. So strap yourself in. In some ways, you'll see that I have interesting basketball views and insights from 40 years of watching basketball and primarily being a huge Raptors fan this whole time. I was with the Raptors from the start, from the when they named the team, when they announced in the Globe and Mail that Toronto has been awarded an NBA franchise. That was the day I became a Raptors fan before they even have a team name. So I went through the expansion process with the Raptors back in the day and understand a lot of the growing pains of being a very brand new team, just like the Tempo. So yeah, Trevor J is our commissioner of fun on this channel. Trevor is headquartered down in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, and he's been a strong supporter of this channel for years now. And I appreciate him very, very much. In fact, I'm gonna give Trevor a dunk today. I realize I'm not giving dunks out enough, like on my channel. I need to be giving more dunks. And Trevor, I'm just gonna give you a dunk for just being you, man, and being the cool guy that you are, the amazing person you are. So, Trevor, you're going to 39 on the dunk charts right there. So, Trevor has words of wisdom. We start off the stream with, where he kind of gives us a little tidbit of philosophy. Let's see what he's saying here. Sometimes the path you did not choose is the one that was always meant to take you exactly where you needed to go. The detours, the setbacks, the seasons that made no sense at that time, none of it was wasted. God does not take you through something without a reason, and that reason usually becomes the most important part of the story. You know, I'm a firm believer in not second guessing yourself. Is not like having regrets about choices from the past. You can't do anything to change it. So why would you hold that over your head or beat yourself up for it? It is what it is. I know people hate that statement, but in some ways, the biggest thing that can be liberating for you, and I found in my life, is accepting life's terms, and accepting the path that you're on is exactly what you were meant to be doing. When you second guess this and you put yourself in an alternate universe of what could have happened if you had done this or that, that's just abusing yourself, honestly, because it's not the reality. You can't go back and change it. Maybe there is something you can change about it in your current life that can make it more what you wanted, and that empowers yourself. Go do it. But to hold heavy regrets over, mistakes or decisions that you made that didn't work out the way that you hoped, it's just stupid, because that's part of having faith in God, is to understand that God put you on the path, just like Trevor's saying, and that was all meant to be. So yeah, thank you, Trevor, for your words of wisdom this morning. Find solace in accepting your path as what it has been and let go of those regrets, because they're unnecessary and they don't serve you. They don't help you. Blessings to the Jones family and all the Raptor Freak families and the Tempo families too. That's right. We got Tempo families coming in now. That's right. I'm seeing new names in the chat. Hopefully some Tempo fans will come here and watch the channel a bit with us. I mean, I know I got my loyal, long time audience, but in some ways, I know that there's going to be new people that might check my channel, and we'll see. We'll see. Trevor's saying this: the Tempo crowd was electric last night. They showed lots of energy for the team. Yeah, and let's talk about this real quick. We've got a Raptors Redditor of the day. It is going to be Kaz on Reddit. Kaz on Reddit. He's a controversial Redditor, but he's okay last night. He's brought up a picture of Sandro Mamukelashvili, Emmanuel Quickley, and Chris Boucher were at attendance for the Toronto Tempo inaugural game last night, which is fantastic. I heard that they didn't really show them on TV a whole lot. They did show Masai. They did show Superfan Nav and, other important people from around the city that were there. Serge Ibaka was at the game too last night, which is very cool. But yeah, this is something that I don't know if most people know, but IQ and Mamu both date women that play basketball. They were both college stars. And Mercedes Brooks is Mamu's girlfriend, and she has a huge interest in the Tempo. She's been following it online and posting happy, excited posts about the Tempo coming for a while. So it's kind of cool. These guys didn't take off out of Toronto immediately from off season. And Mamu and his lady went down and sat at courtside and watched the Tempo play their first game ever. And well, it was a double date because IQ was down there. I don't know IQ's lady's name. In some ways, I don't want to bust his game. So everybody goes out there and looks her up and looks at her. But she was there, and she's a former player. And she's from the area of the country that Emmanuel is, from the mid-Atlantic, Maryland area. And I think he's been with her for a little while. But apparently, as Fiercey was saying yesterday, Mamu and Mercedes like to go on double dates with IQ and his lady. And they're going on double vacation together, too. So this is really good team bonding. And hopefully that'll help keep Sandro in a Raptors jersey next year. But that's pretty cool. And in some ways, yeah, it's great to see Raptors supporting the Tempo game last night, but also realize they were there partly because of their partners and their love for women's basketball, because their ladies were very much good players too. I wonder about Mercedes. Like, she's a big, right? Could she be signed, Teresa Resch? Could you get Mamu's girlfriend on the Tempo because she was a pretty good player at LSU? And she's not in the league. And I wondered about that. I was like, seems like she's in very good shape. She's posting a lot of workout videos on Instagram and stuff like that. And she has size. I'm just wondering. I don't know, Teresa. The Tempo needs some size. Is she available or allowed to come in? I don't know. But yeah, that's cool. I really love that Chris was there too. Chris Boucher is a true Canadian. He posted a couple days ago on his Instagram home, and it was a picture of Lake Ontario outside in Toronto. And I'm just happy about that, man. Chris is back in Canada, and he's here in Toronto, and he's at the WNBA game last night. That's fantastic. Of course, he's a big supporter of the CBL also. And, well, I just love seeing, there were 2 Raptors champions. Actually, there were a bunch, but 2 Raptors champion players in the house with Serge Ibaka and Chris Boucher in attendance at the first ever Toronto Tempo regular season WNBA game. Fantastic. Of course, there's champions in the house. Teresa Resch, Masai Ujiri. Yeah, there's Raptors champions in the house. But yeah, Kaz on Reddit, your Raptors Redditor of the day, for taking your grainy satellite photo of the Raptors and Chris Boucher in the front row at the game. It looked like Chris was actually sitting next to Emmanuel, guys. Like, it looked like Chris was actually sitting right next to our Raptors. So that says something right there, that Boucher was sitting with his old teammates right there. I don't know. Don't read into it like he's coming back to the Raptors. Trevor J saying this: the Sixers are down 3-0, and the Spurs beat the Timberwolves last night. Little playoff check right there. The Knicks are cutthroat and very merciless right now. They're taking down the Sixers. I heard a very horrible thing that during the game in Philadelphia last night, they were doing a tribute to Steve Nurse, the brother of Nick Nurse that passed away recently. And an unclassy New York fan yelled out, "Go Knicks," in the moment of silence. Knicks Nation, you guys just suck. This is why you all won't win ever again, is because God hates you guys, because you guys are jerks. You're taking Boston fans and Philadelphia fans and beating them up in the street after games just because they're wearing the jersey. You're talking so much trash online. You're getting too big for your britches. And, well, there's going to be a correction. And the way this always works for you, Nick Nation, is that you will have a crumbling downfall of humiliation, and you will get what you deserve. You will get what you get. And it's the basketball gods that do this to you. You guys get too cocky. You're too much jerks, and you don't deserve to win. Your owner doesn't deserve to win. His old surveillance state ass motherfucker, Madison Square Garden. And your team nation does not deserve to win, because y'all are some of the unclassy, worst fans in the entire NBA. You're going to ruin a moment of silence for a coach of the other team's brother in the arena by yelling things in the middle of it. That's so unclassy. And you're going to get exactly what you deserve before the end of this playoff. It may not be in this round. It could be in the next round. It will definitely be in the finals. Let's just put it that way. If it is in the final, you get to the finals, you're going to get it in the finals. You know that. Yeah, congratulations to Spurs beating the Timberwolves. The Timberwolves are very angry today. They are taking pot shots at Tony Brothers. Very, very unhappy with Tony Brothers' conduct. There's been a couple of these series out west, the 2 series with the Lakers and the Oklahoma City Thunder, and the Spurs and Timberwolves series where refs are coming under fire. John Goble has been facing attacks from the Lakers and the way that they felt that the calls are for the flopping of the Oklahoma City Thunder and the biases for the champion Thunder right now. Lakers are fed up. And Austin Reeves called John Goble a pussy. Oh my gosh. How unclassy. Austin Reeves, aren't you salt of the earth, a good Christian young man? And what kind of a role model are you for young youth of the United States if you're going to be yelling that word at referee Goble like that? That's just wrong. In some ways, I like this because it means John Goble will probably screw over the Lakers more into the future in games in the future. That's what I take from this. Yeah, go ahead, criticize Tony Brothers. It's Chris Finch. Go ahead, talk about him. See how far that gets you next time he's your referee. Congratulations, Spurs. I'm glad they're taking control of that series. And well, I feel bad for Nick and the Sixers. I am rooting for you guys, and hopefully you can get one win in this series. I don't want to see the Knicks sweep you guys. That's right. Trevor J's bringing up that Kyra Austin is a very powerful player, and you see why the Washington Mystics didn't want to give her up. Yeah, that would have been a real coup if we were able to get that offer sheet through without the Mystics matching it and keeping her in the fold for Washington, because you can see what she would have done for us. She would have plugged up that lane. She had some great shot blocks last night. She was a rebounding machine, and she also had very powerful post moves. In fact, some of the stuff she was doing with the up and unders and the dipping and diving was a little bit Olajuwon-esque. Yeah, she was the best player on the court last night. Although Citrone was really good too. You got to give her a lot of credit too. They're like a 1-2 punch. And in their after game interview, you can tell there's a lot of chemistry between the two of them and a lot of love. And that's what we need more for the tempo. We need more time spent together and more gelling and more chemistry and more bonding. Because Citrone and Austin, oh, they're like this. And after the game, you could see it. And, Austin was kind of a bad guy, a little bit of a villain last night, blocking shots and doing little trollish antics. Like Steph Curry does this and stuff like that. Well, she was doing some moves too. It's kind of fun to see how people troll in the WNBA because, the women, they can be very expressive or interesting kind of trolling ways to each other. So Austin was definitely doing some trolling last night. And then after the game, she said this in her post-game conference, that it was really exciting and lit to be here for the first game ever in Toronto for the tempo. But sorry, I had to hand you that L. She kind of said it like that. So yeah, we got a lot of receipts we're going to get as an expansion team that hopefully we can pay back in some years to come. Yeah, she's good, man. She's good. She was very powerful. That's right. Trevor's saying that tomorrow at 3 p.m., it's the NBA draft lottery. Yeah, we found out yesterday, and we talked about it for a second, that Vince Carter will be representing the Brooklyn Nets at the draft lottery tomorrow. That's annoying to me. That's so annoying to me. Vince, come on, man. And then, of course, Masai said that Rolando Blackman is going to represent the Mavs once again because he had such good luck getting Cooper Flag last year at the draft lottery. So, yeah, Masai won't be there for them. They did hire a GM for the Mavs yesterday, though. Masai hired somebody to be GM underneath him. He's the president. Is worked just like Bobby and Masai did in Toronto. And Ed Rogers, you see that? Patrick Dumont will spend on having two executives like that. What the hell's wrong with you? Why would you let Masai go, Ed Rogers? Oh, it's because you personally hate him. That's right. I forgot that. That's why. Because Masai's got a new GM. And, well, Zach Lowe, he didn't steal him from the Raptors organization. He stole him from the Portland Trailblazers organization. So, yeah, Zach Lowe putting out that, oh, I'd be worried if I was Toronto, all your execs are going to leave because Masai is going to steal them. No, you stole somebody from Portland who was probably very happy to jump out of that sinking ship with all the crazy bad stuff going on with the Trailblazers right now. So, yeah, the new GM for the Mavs is the old GM for the Trailblazers, and Masai took their GM. Is basically what happened yesterday. Yeah, let's see. G is here. Good to see. Good game. The original Raptor Freak trivia champion. He's saying the Mystics have a young, lengthy, athletic team. They will be a problem in a few years. This was Tempo's first game, and I think the first for Marina whom didn't play a lot of preseason, if any. Yeah, Marina had not put on the Tempo's jersey and played in the preseason at all. She didn't play in either one of the 2 preseason games. And, listen, she was rusty. We could look at how Mabry played in the beginning of the game, the first half, and how she played in the second half. And I was telling my dad last night while we were watching the game, wow, it looks like Mabry shoots way better going down that end of the court than the first way when in the first half. Yeah, she missed all of her threes. Of course, you saw how she jacks up 30-footers, and she's nowhere near the three-point line. It's kind of crazy, but she's like that. And she made one little shot on the sideline off on the weak side in the first half, and that was the only shot she made, the only field goal she made in the first half. But in the second half, especially at the beginning of the third quarter, her and Brittany Sykes woke up, and they were a 1-2 punch that kind of got the tempo back in the game, and kind of, they come up and take the lead. There was stuff like that going on, which was fantastic. But the very big thing, the first couple things they got to learn is learning teamwork with each other and how to close games and how to be on the same page and working and clockwork off of each other to cover the assignments and to do the things correctly to execute the end of the game in the way that they can win. And they had none of that done yet. And you can tell this happened in all 3 games so far, both the preseason games and last night, where the tempo have played really well, and including against the Lynx, and have a close chance to win these games. But because they're so new and fresh and don't know each other, they don't know what to do to close it out to win it yet. But this will all be figured out and instructed and by Sandy, and they'll figure it out. They'll figure it out. They're going to figure it out over time. G's saying good defense. Offense needs some work, but Sandy will figure it out. In particular, I want to give big props to Nyara Sabali. Really big props. She may not be the most gifted on offense, but man, was she good on defense yesterday. She was really good on defense. All right, we got a caller today, and the rules are 10 o'clock. You can call. Let me put this on speakerphone. Good morning, Infamous.
Good morning, Lex. How are you doing today?
I'm doing fantastic, man. Great to hear you. I got your text last night. You're really enjoying the tempo game.
I'm really excited. I'm really excited. I enjoyed the game, even though it would have been nice to get a win, but I still enjoyed it. Still enjoyed the game. It was a very good game, very competitive.
Yeah.
Down to the stretch. Great crowd. It was fantastic.
In some ways, it's a very pure team basketball kind of thing going on with that. And that's, in some ways, I really do like that, because the NBA's got a lot of extra stuff to it in some ways that's just kind of not necessary. And I kind of like seeing stripped down basketball that is just pure basketball. And that's what a lot of people say, that why the WNBA is entertaining and fun is because in some ways it's way more true to basketball than the NBA is in some ways. So
yeah. Now, let me tell you here's what I really enjoy. Here's what I really like. And this is why I see the potential of this team already. One of the hardest things to get your players to buy into is defense and effort, right? This team has already got that.
Yeah.
They already got the competitive edge. They already got the defensive fire. They're locked in, right? Now the offense will come. The offense will come, eventually will come. But if they got those principles on that end pretty much worked on and locked down to a certain degree, of course there's work to be done, but the defense and the intensity is already there. And I love that. I love teams that already give that effort and that. You know what it kind of reminds me of, Lex? And you can pick up on this. It's almost similar to how our G League team plays to a certain degree.
I mean, I don't.
Not to the full level, but
I don't know if I'd make that comparison. Let me just leap off on your talking point about their defense. You're right, because I would say this: the things that I like were obviously Sykes is a former Defensive Player of the Year. And just really a top-notch defensive player in this league. And, I was about to just say before you called, Sabali, the way she got the ball away, like at the top of the key, and she did this multiple times, and get the breakaway layups down the court, especially one late in the game like she did. The thing is, as much as they don't know what they're doing on offense, they still don't really know what they're doing on defense either. And there's really is a fine tuning, but there's a really nice raw first appearance of their defense that you are really encouraged by, that you're talking about. This is so much more to be fine tuned. and to be way even more on the same page to get even better outcomes. Like this is just the raw rough draft. And you're right. This is a very good starting point for this. But when they actually understand how to play off each other, just like on the offense, even on defense, this will get even better. And I know this is something that they value, that in some ways, like I've said a couple times on the channel in the last couple weeks, that Sandy wants to run this team like Darko and have a very strong defense that leads to easier baskets in transition. So they were kind of already doing that in this first game. And that was something that Sandy said in the post-game conference, that she was happy that the defense was pretty good, but the offense needs so much work.
So much work. The offense. But here's the thing. I always believe that as long as you get if you can get the team to buy into the defensive principles and lock those down, the other stuff is basically
comes easier.
The chemistry, it comes a lot easier. Now, here, with all that said, you made a great point, and I completely agree with you. We are super thin up front.
Yeah, and it showed because like immediately when Teme and Sabali were not available for the middle of the game, we had to bring in the developmental player from Greece, Fazula, just for like a minute, just to kind of bridge the gap in the minutes, because I think when Sabali got hit in the gut, she had to take a little bit of time to just collect herself on the bench for a bit after that. And I don't know if playing Laura too many minutes up front, as maybe like she cannot play center for us and be the main big, but she can be the 4. She can be kind of the second biggest person on the team. But man, I really think that already got exposed in the first game of the season, that we need more size.
We definitely need some more size. And I encourage Tempo fans and Raptor fans, be patient, because there's going to be a lot of growing pains.
Yes.
I mean, you said it perfectly. Don't expect too much right now, because again, this was a team that was basically thrown together because of the CBA. They didn't get that thing finalized, and it's going to take some time for this team to gel. And also, this is not the final iteration of this team.
No.
This team's going to change as well.
Yeah. If we think about the first year of the Raptors and their expansion years, there's a very much definitely filtering through, figuring things out. And I've seen some people talk about this on Reddit, where, the tempo won't really be good until they get a few drafts and get a few first-round picks. And you can think about the Raptors with Marcus Camby, Tracy McGrady, Damon Stoudemire. We got Kiki Rice and the Damon Stoudemire first pick. But next year we're going to probably get a very high pick, because we probably will be one of the worst teams in the league. And next year, who knows? Maybe we're picking a big. Maybe we're picking a very solid size big. And then next year we have, it's stuff like that. We've got to understand. It's building a team. And the first year, like you said, there's going to be filtering through. Part of the reason why I think the team played so well on defense yesterday is because in training camp, they figured out who's going to put in that work. And that may be part of the reason why Scotty is on this team, is because obviously she's going to get on the floor to get after it. She's going to go and get blue collar offensive rebound putbacks, and she had some versatility to her as far as bringing the ball up the court and also hitting that key 3 to tie the game late. So, there's going to be a little bit of like weeding in and out and trying new people. And, there may be some that stick around for a couple of years, but a lot of the people on the team this year will not be on the team probably next year.
Yeah. Because you know what it is, Lex? We basically, it's almost kind of sad. We basically only have 2 strong offensive players in Sykes and Mayberry. Like everybody else is kind of questionable to a certain degree. It's
interesting.
That's our strongest 2 offensive.
Yeah, Marina said this after the game in the post conference. She said, Brittany and I were taking a lot of the shots, and I don't like that. I don't want to have so many shot attempts. Other people are going to have to look to get shots and to contribute if we're going to try and be winning any games, because a 2-headed monster is easy to stop, especially when a 2-headed monster is 2 guards. In some ways, it's like the Mystics look like a 2-headed monster with Citron and Austin, but at least one's a center and one's a guard. And, that's the whole thing with us, is like you can stop a 2-headed monster that's guards in some ways. And, they're going to need – that's what Marina's crying out for. Some people may look at the stats for yesterday and say, man, Marina Mayberry is such a ball hog. Look at how many shots she took. and nobody else took any shots. But if the other team's
no
shying away
choice.
from it, and like in some ways they had to rely on her to do that.
Yeah, they had to rely on her. There was nobody else really, technically.
Yeah.
But you know what? They're facing what? Seattle. They're facing Seattle next.
Yeah.
Oh, that might get ugly.
I don't know though, because I've heard in the preseason rankings that Seattle is one of the bottom 5 teams like us. So
yeah, but
we'll have to see, because they've had a lot of changeover and stuff like that. In some ways, we are learning the personalities. If you're not an in-depth WNBA watcher for years, for people like me and you, we're learning the personalities of the other WNBA teams and what to expect when we're coming up against them. So yeah, any more points?
Say, Lex.
Okay, all right. Infamous, I'm glad.
I don't want to keep much of your time. I just want to say, listen, Temple fans, Raptor fans, be encouraged. It would have been nice to get the win on the first inaugural night, which was still a great night, by the way. And think about this. Even with that all said, it really came down to one shot.
Yeah. I didn't totally agree with Brittany settling for that 3. I mean, most of us were like, you're only down by 1. Why don't you drive and take a 2-point shot? I mean, this is all stuff they got to talk about and figure it out.
Fair enough, Lex, but she was butt naked, wide open, man. Like,
I know.
You got to take that.
But to me, it's annoying that everybody relies on the 3 in the NBA and the WNBA like this. Like Julie had a layup she could have made, but she passed it out to somebody to get a 3-point shot in the game too. And I'm like, why are we doing this? And it's not like everybody in the WNBA's like sharpshooters or something like that. It's like the overimportance on the 3-point shot shouldn't be happening in the early expansion days of the tempo. I mean, Marina, sure. But in some ways, I totally disagreed with Slim just jacking up that 3 at that point, because she probably could have even just dribbled a couple feet up and gotten a much higher percentage mid-range shot, and it would have been better, if not going all the way to the rim and laying it in, because she had a lane. She did.
Yeah. All right. That would have given us the 1-point lead, right?
Yeah, because we didn't need a 3. And that's some of that's just sorting it all out. Like I said, there's a lot of confusion. There's a lot of organization that they're going to need to do to get more on point with executing and getting things done right. And it's like that'll get all sorted out. This is normal stuff. And in some ways, I'm not surprised, because like some of these women have just been around each other for a week now.
Correct.
You know,
correct.
So
yeah, you're absolutely right. So I thank you, Lex, for
you're welcome, and thank you for calling, Infamous. And I appreciate your enthusiasm for this new tempo team. I appreciate it.
I've been watching WNBA I've been watching it since the old Comet days, Houston Comet days. I go way back.
Yeah, I was an original season watcher too. Like I was really into the WNBA when it first started.
So was I.
And I was kind of up on it then, like in the very beginning 30 years ago. But I in the middle there, I just kind of, but now that we're in there, it's definitely going to be a focus of mine. But yeah, I appreciated getting your text. It was like almost immediately at the game, Infamous sent me a text and he said, "I'm in love with this team already, Lex," is what he said to me. And I was like, that's awesome, man. That's awesome.
Yeah, because you know what? I was so enthused about the defense and the effort. And I was saying to myself, with an expansion team, sometimes, people just come and they think, I'm just here for a little cup of coffee and then eventually I'm going to leave. So, you know what it is sometimes.
Yeah.
But the fact that they bought in and they were giving that effort, because defense comes first. And I just love that. And that's what I fell in love with. Not really much the offense, because, the offense will come. The offense will come, and it's going to take time to put the offensive principles in. But if you can get the foundation of the defense down, you're halfway there.
I think that like a lot of people, just the realization of the dream and seeing the players on the court and playing a real game, that was just really awesome. Pinch me moment kind of thing. And I know for people like Kia Nurse, Savannah Hamilton, Amy Audibert, like this is a big deal to Canadian women basketball players that have played.
Absolutely.
And they didn't necessarily get this chance until now, like Kia did. So yeah.
Beautiful.
All right, Infamous. Have a fantastic Saturday.
You too.
And I'm sure I'll hear from you in shows to come.
Thank you, sir.
All right, man. Awesome. We got a call on the reaction from Infamous, and Infamous is a huge fan of the tempo. He's taking it to it like a duck takes to water. He's loving this new team. That's right. Yeah. Let's see. G saying this. Nice to see Mamu, IQ, Boucher, Masai, and Serge at the game. Andre DeGrasse was there too. Yeah, there's probably quite a few luminaries. We saw Nab Bhatia sitting up front with Sam McDaddy or Batty or whatever his name is. Those guys from the Raptors game. This is a lot of people. This is a place to be. And in some ways, you want to be somewhere to say that you were at the very first game ever for the tempo like this, for history. That's right. Trevor's saying this: why most WNBA teams have more preseason games than the tempo, who only had 2 games. Yeah, I wonder about that too. It may very well be that everything was thrown together in such a short time that Teresa, Monica, and Sandy were like, you know what? It's more important for us to get time practicing than actual court time. And maybe that was the bare minimum that they could have taken for preseason, a 1 home and 1 away game. And in some ways, they found more value in having in-house practice to try and get going with the stuff we were just talking about gelling and familiarity. They're rough right now. And in some ways, maybe not having so many games was a good idea. The games in the preseason really provided a chance to see the people trying to make the team and for them to assess who they should cut for training camp. And that's really what they did. In a lot of ways, it didn't really set up the team schemes or the team for who they were, because a lot of the players didn't play, like Marina. So, yeah, it's an interesting question, Trevor, and I wonder about that too. But I think it really was that they wanted more in-house practice without competition from other teams. And it may be that they had to do at least 2, because they may have said, we don't want to do any preseason because we need this time. I don't know. They probably needed the preseason too. Yeah, Trevor's saying WNBA commissioner was there for the game. She announced something very interesting before the game, that now all international sales of WNBA merchandise, over half of it comes from Canada now. That we are buying half of the international sales of WNBA merchandise now because of the tempo. So there you go. Already paying off. This is what y'all wanted, Kathy and Adam Silver. You got a market that is ravenous for basketball. You got a crowd that is amazing, that looks good on TV, that brings some of that energy that the Raptors playoff crowd does, and it makes the WNBA look good. And you're also increasing revenue from merchandise because you have a whole country of Canada buying tempo gear in different places all across the country. Yeah, this is what you wanted. And we told you this before you came to Toronto and played Chicago Lynx and Chicago Sky and Minnesota Lynx, that, we will be very good to you if you come here. You will make money in Canada. And if there's been problems with the WNBA making money in some expansion cities, that will not be the case in Toronto. That will not be the case. Kathy's very impressed with what happened last night. I have a feeling. I think she was. With the crowd and the energy and everything that's going on, she's probably very, very happy with it. That's for sure. Fiercey's here. Good morning, MJ. Good to see Fiercey Salsera. Good morning, fam, and happy Saturday. Great energy in the arena. Game was scrappy. Lots of turnovers on both ends, but the Mystic size definitely helped them. Well, let's go ahead and do some stars of the game with that note right there. And I'll start with my 5 stars of the game for the Toronto Tempo. Of course, Marina Mabrey is my number 1 star. How could you not have her as the number 1 star, scoring 27 of our 65 points? 30 minutes for Marina last night, 6 of 18. Of course, efficiency is going to be weird in the beginning with the tempo team, with not being on the same page. Assists will be very hard to get. This is a huge stat that Sandy's going to be keying on, is assists. And they only got 10 assists as a team last night. Is way, way lower than what they want. But they are not connected. They don't know each other yet. So that's part of it. But Mabrey can thrive as an individual on her talent to create shots. And you can see it doesn't take a whole lot of coaching to tell Sabali to set a little screen at the top of the key and let Mabrey come around her and take those little pops. But yeah, 6 of 18 for Marina. She didn't really get going until the second half, as I said earlier. But when she got going, woo-wee, some of those shots, that inbounds play where she took the ball and just perfect. That, there's some signs that there really is some good stuff to come. It's just so raw and just so rough right now. It really is. 3 for 9 from 3. She was great at the free throw line. In fact, I was mad at myself. She was 9 for 9. I said, man, she's going to make all her free throws. And then she missed the 10th one. And well, she did miss another one later, but 12 for 14 at the free throw line. She can foul bait. She can be a foul merchant. She can be somebody that can draw contact and get to the line and manufacture points for the tempo. I can tell. And that is something that we will rely on her to do, I'll bet, this year. 7 rebounds also for Mabry, 2 assists with 4 turnovers and a steal, a -7 overall. Yeah, I don't like the turnovers, but in some ways, these turnovers are going to be something that's going to happen with the young expansion team that's still feeling each other out as far as their proclivities and tendencies and their likes and dislikes. So yeah, I love the free throw shooting. I love the crazy 3-point shooting. And yeah, Marina, you are our number one option. That's for sure. Yeah, my second star of the game for the game yesterday is Brittany. Brittany Sykes was the second punch. And, she wasn't efficient. She had a tough game. But the thing I loved about watching Brittany Sykes last night is that she is so athletic. She's a really good all-around player. She's going to be totally necessary to rely on to get rebounds. Trust me. With the size, the way things are, I know that she's been slotted in the past as a point guard, and she's a very big point guard for the WNBA. But with our roster build and people like Julie and Kiki on our team, she should be slotted more at 3 because she has the length and the athletic ability and size to kind of play at that point. But one of the key things we're going to need from Slim this year is she's going to have to help the bigs on the boards. And she's got a natural tendency to go get anything, whether it's a steal, get a layup, a 3, whatever. She's got a lot of really good all round stuff to her. And I like the way she carries herself. She had a really nice shook move when she was going to the basket once. She shook them and went around them and got that nice layup. She made some layups in traffic. As Marina said after the game, we can't rely on me taking 30-foot shots way outside the 3-point line and Brittany trying to go in the land of the giants and trying to make these circus shot layups like she was doing last night. That's not going to work for a long time. Marina was very coy and upfront about that. So and Sandy is like, yeah, well, we're going to have to work out the offense and figure out how we're going to work off each other more instead of individual talent trying to beat them one-on-one in isolation, like what Mabry and Sykes were doing to an extent last night. So yeah, they were a 1-2 punch in the second half and the beginning of the third quarter. They got the tempo back in the game. 14 points for Brittany, 4 of 18 shooting. Yeah, yuck, that's gross. And she missed all 5 of her 3-point attempts. And that's part of the reason why I was like, I'm not okay with that shot selection at the end when we only needed 2 points and you took a 3 then. She was 6 for 9 at the free throw line, 14 points, 3 rebounds, 2 assists, 2 turnovers, 3 steals, and a -4. Yeah, the steals for the tempo, very, very strong, very, very strong. Really getting in passing lanes and being disruptive. And with a young team like the Mystics, well, you could get them to cough the ball up, and we did. We did. And that's the stuff that Infamous was very much enjoying. My third star of the game for last night is Niara Sabali. She showed some real strong strength and grit. I'm giving her a star based on the fact that she was the end-all be-all of our front court defense. Temi is annoying me in some ways. In some ways, I think Temi's just showing up, and she's got to put more into things as far as like, go get the rebounds. Try and score, Temi. What are you doing? Just running cardio, running up and down the court. But Niara, she's the last line of defense. And in some ways, the trying to corral Kyra Austin last night was left on the shoulders of Sabali and Tiani Key to an extent. And well, you know what? I was really impressed. And I can tell that Niara is very much one of Sandy and Olaf's favorite players because she does play for both of them on different teams in the past. German national team for Olaf Lang. And then her history with Sandy in the Liberty the last couple years. So she's very much a student of Brondello and doing what she says. And the thing is that Niara really had to meet people underneath the basket and be that big body and just stop them from trying to make shots. And she was very successful at times. She was very, very successful at times. So she's going to be absolutely essential to stay healthy and stay out there if we're going to have any kind of interior defense for our team. because she did really show some good stuff, and she was very effective at stopping people at the rim. And then you add in a couple of really cool steals near the top of the key and her getting a fast break opportunity. I have to keep remembering this is the WNBA, and Sabali's not going to throw it down when she gets down the court like that. She'll lay it in, but there's nothing wrong with that. In some ways, I don't mind missing. The NBA's got dunks and stuff. I get it. WNBA is not going to have dunks all the time. There will be sometimes, but yeah, Sabali running it down and laying it up on those. That was awesome. Yeah, she was 26 minutes. She probably would have played more if she hadn't got the wind knocked out of her. 8 points on 3 of 8 shooting. She took 2 threes and missed them. She was 2 of 4 at the free throw line, 6 rebounds, 1 turnover, 3 steals, and a block, and a -4. I like that. She only turned the ball over once, but she manufactured 3 possessions and also got a block with 3 steals. And she was a big part of our fast break points last night. So, man, tough woman, Nyara Sabali. And in some ways, she is so essential for our team. So essential. And I was sad. I mean, she's already had it rough going into the season, a concussion in the first preseason game. And now she got knocked in the gut by an elbow to the gut. Yeah. Yeah, it's tough. It's tough. My next star, 4th star of the game, I'm going to give it to you, Scotty. You know, it's really interesting that Laura went from, she was in EuroLeague. She did some good stuff. She came over with Julie and Maria, and, she is really riding on a wave of excellence from her EuroLeague stuff that she just did. And I think what she did was she showed up to camp. She was extremely jubilant and positive and just really acting like she wanted to be there. And I think that was the edge she had over some of the other women who were in training camp that got cut. Is that Laura Euskadi? She actually was like, I want to be here. I like this. This is fun. This is exciting. And then add in that at practice, she's rolling around on the ground, going after loose balls and just being blue collar. They're like, yeah, you know what? We need her size because we need more size, but also just the fact that she's a hard worker and she's getting after it. Well, this is the kind of people we want on this team. And in some ways, somebody like Laura will make people fall in love with this team just because she busts her ass. So, yeah, I was impressed. The other thing that says a lot about her is she went from trying to make the team on the bubble with a lot of other people and making the team to not only that, like playing the crunch time minutes in the first WNBA game she ever played in. Like not Kiki Rice, not Tiani Key, not Maria Conde. These are all rookies. They're all rookies. And the rookie that got to play in the meaningful minutes at the end of the game was Laura. And that says a lot considering, those are draft picks. Maria Conde is a great European player that they've been waiting to get over here. And you can tell Sandy loves her. Sandy loves her. She was beaming about Maria after the game and saying some really good things about her once again. She's definitely one of her favorite players on this team. But Laura, on pure hard work, hustle, and getting after it, is finding a niche and a role on this team, just carving it out right from the start. And in some ways, it's kind of cool. Some people say she's got ugly game. It's not polished. It's sloppy. Oh my gosh. But also at the same time, could you see how her pure energy and effort is getting good things to happen for her? Like, serious. It's crazy. She's all over the place. 15 minutes for Laura. It seemed like she played longer. 7 points on 2 of 5 from the field. 1 of 2 at the 3-point line, 2 of 2 at the free throw line. She made her free throws, and they were important time to make them too. 6 rebounds for her in 15 minutes with 2 turnovers and a steal, a +1. So they actually were outscoring the Mystics by 1 in her time out there. Yeah, she's one of my favorite tempo right from the start, Laura, because in some ways I see how underdog she is, and I see how much she's making things happen. It's amazing. I love that. My last star of the game for the first ever tempo game played is going to be Kia Nurse. I got to give a little bit of love to our Canadian getting out there to realize the dream. She only played for 10 minutes, but she did hit the only shot she took. And it was a nice little run to the elbow there and taking that shot and drained it. And you could tell she was really stoked to make some points in the first ever tempo game. So she got in the history book. It was dumb. When we did that poll yesterday, we should have realized Kia's not going to start. So why would we put her as the first person to ever make the Tempo's first ever basket? That don't make no sense. She's not going to start. She's not going to make the first basket. And Brittany Sykes ended up getting that honor, which in some ways is pretty cool. That'll be the trivia question in the years to come. Who scored the first ever regular season basket for the Toronto Tempo? Brittany Slim Sykes. Now, who scored the first ever basket for the Tempo ever in the preseason? Kia Nurse. But yeah, Kia got one of everything. One basket, one rebound, one assist, and one turnover. But she was a +4 also while she was out there. But yeah, in some ways, it's not really about how much she plays. In some ways, she's going to be one of those vets. The thing about Kia is she's a bruiser. She don't mess around. That offensive foul she got for that pick, wow, she really laid into that person. And I learned a bit about the WNBA reffing. It can be very light. And in some ways, they're protecting people. So if you do anything aggressive or violent like that, Kia Nurse, they're going to call it Charles Watson. Yeah. Yeah, but I like her grittiness and her toughness. In some ways, we don't have a lot of size up front, but we have some very tough guards in Kia Nurse and Marina Mabry, and even Kiki Rice. In some ways, she's coming in with a toughness to her that we haven't totally realized yet either. But yeah, she's an interesting personality on this. And once again, in some ways, some of this is pageantry and just a celebration of Canadian basketball with the Canadian on the Canadian WNBA team. And that's awesome. Yeah. So those are my 5 stars: Marina, Brittany, Niara, Laura, and Kia. I'll go over the rest of them. Temi, 16 minutes. Like she didn't play a whole lot. And I'm wondering if, I think she had a little bit of back issues in the preseason. And I'm wondering if she's being taken care of a little bit with that in mind, as far as maybe a minutes restriction, or, she could very well be in a position as a vet that she tells Sandy, she's like, something's wrong with my back right now, and I need just a little bit of rest or something like that. I'm not totally sure. But Temi only getting 16 minutes, 2 points. She made them at the free throw line. She took 2 shots altogether, including a 3, missed both of them. She only got 1 rebound. She had 1 assist, and she had 4 turnovers and 1 steal. So that's not a good game to start for Fagbenle. And that's part of the reason why she was subbed out at the end of the game, and Laura Euskadi was playing her minutes. So, yeah, Julia Lamont. Wow. I want to give an honorable mention to her. Her numbers didn't really speak to what she did out there last night, because she definitely was a floor general. She definitely was keeping things organized. She was the one who played the bulk of the first quarter and was really kind of keeping things set. I love the way she plays defense. She's such a dogged defender. She's just up on people. I love the way she played that inbounds for the other team and how she made them mess up, and they turned the ball over and we got the ball back right away. I love the way she rebounds as a little point guard. She really gets up in there just like Emmanuel quickly and gets those rebounds for being out of position for it. There's a lot to like about Julie Lamont, and I wish she'd shoot more. I think Cass said it last night in the Discord, and he's exactly right. That Julie's being like Scotty and being unselfish and giving to everybody else. But honestly, you're a good shooter, Julie. That 1 3 you took was money. And in some ways, I don't want you to be too unselfish. In some ways, go get some points for yourself. Because this is the thing, Julie Lamont. This is an expansion team, and we're going to need everybody to be able to score. So don't shy away from this. If your MO in the normal games in Belgium and Fenerbahce is to be a distributor and to help get everybody else, you're in Toronto Tempo. And we don't have a whole lot of super talent on offense. And in some ways, you're probably one of the top 4 offensive players on the team. So you're going to need to go get scoring for us. And, the pass first mode is right, but it's also like, don't pass first to the detriment that you're not scoring any points to help the team too. Julie, 30 minutes, only 3 points. It was the 3s she made. She only took 2 shots, and they were both 3-pointers. 3 rebounds, 2 assists, 0 turnovers, and a steal, a -6. Man, I'm really impressed with Julie Lamont. She's another one of the people on the team that I'm really like, wow, I like this player. I like the passing. There was one really good play where Marina had a wraparound pass in a pick and roll situation for Niara to get an easy layup. And that was like one of the few plays in the game last night that actually looked like teamwork and something sorted out. But it's a very basic play that basketball players know. and they can just fall into it naturally. But it does seem like, to be honest, Mabry and Sabali actually have a natural chemistry for working off of picks with Marina coming around picks on Sabali. And that's really good. That is really, really good. That's a really good thing. Now, one of the weird things about the WNBA is that they do joint press conferences. Like they quite often put players together in press conferences. And for the Tempo's first ever press conference last night, they had Coach Brondello in the middle with Sabali and Mabry on both sides of her. And in some ways, I don't like this because you should do each of the interviews separately. Because in some ways, what you're doing is you're putting people in moments of uncomfortable, like shade. Like, okay, nobody's asking me any questions. Like, I'm just sitting here, like, I'm just here. And like, maybe the media scrum has to be savvy to this and say, all right, if they're going to have a three-headed press conference, then we got to give a question to each one of them in a row so that nobody's sitting up there for too long feeling like, why am I even here? They're ignoring me. This is not good for confidence. So I would tell Teresa Resch, if you're structuring these things for excitement to have people together, maybe you can put two teammates that love each other and like to be together on the mics and they don't mind sharing the moment together. But doing this too much, you could cause unnecessary chemistry problems on your team in the future, just so you know, because I can see it with the three of them sitting there after the game. It's awkward. And Marina Mabry's obviously got fidgety kind of issues and things like where she just kind of doesn't want to sit still. And if she's not engaged, well, she can be in another place. And the other thing with Nyara, she was being ignored for that press conference for the first little while, that when they actually did ask her a question, she's like, "Oh, I'm sorry, I was dozing off. And I didn't hear your question. I thought you were still asking Marina something." This is just a word of advice. Teresa, Monica, Sandy, if y'all can get separate interviews, I don't know if the WNBA is allowed to do this. If it's just like one press conference with everybody, that might be better for chemistry down the road, because you don't want to get step in it in a dumb way that some players have gripes or some sort of problem because they felt slighted, or there's an ego problem or something because the interview went weird. Because I'm already seeing these kind of moments happening. You know, in the last preseason game, they had a group of Sandy with Liz Balogun and I forget, maybe Sykes or somebody, but they totally ignored Liz. And then they asked Liz a question right at the end and she got cut off and then she was cut from the team. I don't know. To me, this kind of stuff just bugs me. Give them their due respect. Give them separate interviews. Because when you put them up there together, if they're not best friends or close, it could be a real recipe for chemistry disaster. Let's just put it that way. Let's just put it that way. Going to the bench, Maria Conde had the highest plus minus of the Tempo players last night, +6, but she didn't score a shot. She was 0 for 5 from the field. She did make 2 free throws. And that was something I was saying at a certain point in the game. I was like, man, I'm glad European players make their free throws because, we needed some crucial free throws from Euskadi and Conde at a certain point to catch up with the Mystics. But yeah, Conde is really the apple of the eye of Sandy. She gushes about her. And she said actually something about one of our best lineups out there was with Conde on the court. But she kind of said, I don't want Conde to play power forward 4. I'd rather she play 3 because that'll slot better with more size for us. So who knows? And it was also seemed like Sandy was hinting that to Monica that she wants more size on this team, that she's already kind of like hinting that we need more bigs on this team. And she kind of hinted that in her interview, because she would like to play Maria at 3 and not have to play her at 4 because we don't have enough size. Yeah, Maria had 3 rebounds and a turnover. But it's kind of interesting because she just got over here. She was one of the latest arrivals and she's never played in the WNBA. She had her WNBA debut yesterday. But I can see a lot of potential. You saw a nice little back behind the back pass to somebody there. You see her versatility as far as rebounding, ball handling, shooting, and playmaking. So there's a lot in Maria Conde to discover, and we're going to find it. We're going to see it. And her enthusiasm and the way she's going about things is awesome. I love it. Tiani Key really impressed me yesterday. In fact, she impressed me way more last night than she did in the preseason. In the preseason, I was a little worried, like, whoa, she's skittish. She seems a little bit like not ready, but she was ready last night. In fact, wow, that defensive stand against Austin in the first half was really impressive. Like she had a opponent that was much bigger than her, and she held her ground and she played it perfectly. She didn't get called for a foul, and she had a defensive stop on her, and that was fantastic. There's a lot of potential in the Kentucky Wildcat Tiani Key as far as her length and her potential on offense and the things she can do. And well, there was a lot that was shown that's very promising last night. 9 minutes for her. She hardly played in the second half, but she did start the second half in the place of Fagbenle after halftime. She took one 3-point shot, missed it. She missed both her free throws too, so she didn't score in her debut. But there's a lot of defensive stuff that was good in there. 3 rebounds, 1 assist, 1 turnover, and a block for Tiani Key in her WNBA debut. As I said, Mariella got in there for 1 minute, and it was really just because Niara got the wind knocked out of her, and they needed a stopgap of having a big out there. But we can see Mariella has a good WNBA NBA size body. Hopefully she can be very productive and helpful, because man, if we are slim up there up front in the depth, Fasula is going to be depended on, much to the delight of Greek fans, I'm sure. Yeah, let's see. Also, Lexi Held got in for a hot cup of coffee for 2 minutes. She didn't get a shot or anything, but she did get to say, and I like that Sandy played every single player on the team. Mariella 1 minute, Lexi 2 minutes, but everybody can say they played in the first ever tempo game. Yeah, it really does look like Lexi Held may be at the end of the bench, but there's a lot of potential for a sniper sharpshooter kind of role for their team. Yeah, Kiki Rice made her debut against her former UCLA Bruins teammates, Lauren Betts and Dugalich. And well, none of them really looked that good, honestly. Lauren Betts was actually shockingly not very smooth. Like, honestly, I mean, it does seem really kind of unfair, the 6'7" frame of that woman. And, but wow, she was uncoordinated and really rough, really, really rough. And I can understand. I thought she'd be starting right away, but man, she's really rough. Kiki Rice, 18 minutes, 0 points. She missed all 3 of her shots, including 2 threes, 3 rebounds, and an assist, 0 turnovers on +1. Yeah, just nothing substantial to that. It's growing pains. It's learning the WNBA. It's showing up. You're a rookie. This is the new world that you play in. And this is how it's going to be. In some ways, one of the biggest challenges for the Tempo women this year is to stay upbeat amidst the work in progress that they are. And the fact is, failure is expected. And you got to keep your head up and just keep plotting away. As long as you keep that level of compete and that energy that Infamous loves on the defense, you'll be able to compete and try and win some games, and hopefully you will be successful at times. But it's going to be a little bit of a mental slog on them and grind, because it is tough to be on a team that doesn't win very often. Let's just put it that way. So they need to be ready for this. Yeah, I'll go to the other side and look a little bit on the Mystics side of the box score. Sonia, wow, I really like her. Like, I like Sonia Citron. She's somebody, I like her, the way she carries herself, and I really like the way she's played last night. She's very efficient. 34 minutes for Sonia, 26 points on 9 of 12 shooting, 3 of 6 from 3. She's just a very crafty scorer, very, very talented scorer. And that 1-2 punch of Citron with Austin is a very nice little combo. Austin, 18 points on 6 of 13 shooting, 6 of 10 at the free throw line. The free throws were crucial at the end of the game. She has a weird free throw delivery, really weird. It's a weird spin like this, and it goes over this way. And she missed a couple early, really, really badly. But when it really mattered late, she drained them. And that kudos to her for that. Double-double, 18 and 11 rebounds, 2 assists, 2 turnovers, 2 steals, 2 blocks, a +13 for Shakira Austin. Yeah, and Iriafen was annoying on the offensive boards. Wow, 4 offensive boards, 16 rebounds altogether. Really, really interesting player with her long arms, and she was causing fouls left and right in certain ways. But there's an interesting team over there for the Mystics. I don't expect them to win a lot of games this year either. Both teams were very rough. Let's go to the team stats real quick while we got the box score up. And yeah, both teams shot horrible. The Tempo shot 27% from the field, and the Mystics shot 39%. Both teams made 5 3-pointers. The Tempo got way more to the line. They got 13 more free throw attempts, and they did make 74% of their free throws. They lost by 3, but they missed 9 free throws. So we could say that right there. If the Tempo had made 4 more of the 9, if they had made 4 of the 9 misses, they would have won the game, right? So those free throws really matter, and we want them to make the free throws like Mabry. Rebounds, 44 rebounds for Mystics, 37 for Tempo. We may get out rebounded a lot this year. Now, this is the stat that we want to see the improvement over the season with, and that is the assists. The fact that they were not getting anywhere near 20 assists in any of the 3 games so far is really not pleasing Sandy Brondello. They only got 10 assists yesterday, and they're aiming for 20 plus. So that's obviously the reason why they don't have good assists, is because they don't know each other. How did they connect with each other? They haven't played with each other long enough to do it. So that will be a barometer for this whole season, is looking at assist numbers for the Tempo could be a very good key indicator of how the gelling and the chemistry is developing. So 10 assists with 16 turnovers, well, that's a negative assist to turnover ratio, and that's no good. The other team wasn't much better, though. 14 assists with 18 turnovers, 10 steals for both teams. And yeah, points in the paint, 40 points in the paint for Austin and them, and 16 for us. So we are not doing enough down around the basket. And in some ways, that may be the tough thing. Is like, I would say go inside more Tempo players, but maybe it's the land of the giants down there, and it's tough to get shots when you have Kyra Austin patrolling the lane, is what I would say right there. But yeah, that's the box score for the Tempo game last night and my stars of the game. Yeah, it's interesting stuff, man. I had a lot of fun watching the game last night. I hope people did too. Once again, if you're one of these win or championship or bust kind of fans, you're not going to want to watch the Tempo right now. But if you can enjoy watching the journey and the beginning to get to the top, well, it's very rewarding if you start at the very bottom where they're starting out right now, and you see them develop over the years and get higher and higher. It'll really pay off when they do win their first WNBA championship, because you were there day one and you saw every step of the way they took. Now, you can be a fan that says, I'm not going to watch them until they're winning again, or they're winning for the first time. And yeah, in some ways that's lazy. You just don't. I don't have time for losers. I can't watch loser teams. Like, if the Jays are losing, I don't watch them. If the Leafs are losing, I don't watch them. If the Raptors are losing, I don't watch them. So there's going to be a lot of people that'll be late to the boat to get on the Tempo boat with us, just because they know they're going to lose right away. And they're like, I don't want to spend time watching a losing team, especially a WNBA losing team. Yeah, well, I'm going to start with them because I know it's going to be fun to see the progress over time. G saying this, they need a good big, but also better playmaking. It will come. That stuff is more, the big, that's a front office move. But the playmaking, that's stuff that will come. And in fact, we may see a lot of a difference right away from this game to the Seattle game on Wednesday. Because who knows if there's, they have tape now of seeing Mabry out there and some of the other people with them, that they can go over it and they can point and they can say, well, there's an opportunity missed right there. We should have done this at this juncture in this play. And, they can clean up a lot just in 4 days. And hopefully they're very, I don't know how WNBA works with so many off days between games. Do they let the players just kind of go off and do their own thing and mini vacations for a few days and then come back? Or are they, I would think, in the situation Toronto Tempo are in, with the short run up into the season with no time after the CBA getting ratified, that maybe they are very much treating all of the days off in the season as very much work days to gel and get more on the same page and get right. Well, we'll have to see. We could have a different look and some improvement in the playmaking area as soon as the Seattle Storm game on Wednesday. So that's one of the cool things is you get to see how they progress and the improvements, incremental improvements as a basketball franchise goes on its quest to become a better team and win more and more. Yeah, this is my expertise. Some people will like the X's and O breakdown stuff like Talking Tempo and other YouTube channels, but I'm about culture. I'm about philosophy. I'm about franchises' journey to get better and what that takes. And from my years of watching the NBA, I was very in depthly watching the Orlando Magic expansion years in 1989 to their first championship appearance against the Olajuwon in the finals in '94. And of course, the Raptors journey. I've very much paid attention to the Raptors very closely for 30 years now. So every time a franchise can be in, whether they're winning time or a losing time, I'm able to analyze and rationalize and kind of help people understand what's going on without just being a casual or a nephew or a niece and just saying, well, they just suck and they suck. No, we need to look at the nuts and bolts and understand why these things are happening and what we need to do and where we go towards to get better. And that's part of the fun with this brand new Tempo team right here, man. It's so much fun, man. Fiercely saying Mabry, Sykes, Iridan, Citron, and Austin were all unrivaled. But the one with the biggest leap is 100% Kiki Irifin. She has tremendously evolved for someone in her second year. She's a very intriguing player, rebound machine, very long arms. And, they're weird. They're a weird team. They have a different energy to them. There was one point where they were showing the Washington Mystics in their timeout. And I turned to my dad and I said, they just look like a bad guy team in a movie. You know what I'm saying? Maybe it's because they had red as their colors on the sideline, but like just the team, like in some ways, it's like you're watching a women's basketball movie or something like that. And like the good guy team is the Tempo, and the Mystics are like the bad guys. They're like Cobra Kai or something like that. They're very much like Cobra Kai to me is what the Mystics kind of motif and energy and their culture is like. They're like Cobra Kai. They're like bad guys. Kind of like vibes to them. I don't know. Irfin was very annoying. And I would also say this, they're trolling. They're very interesting. Like if you watch very closely, WNBA players are trolling each other all the time. Whether it's like Austin blocking somebody and then she's like doing something cute to the camera. You can catch all that stuff. You can see little side eye and little like weird micro expressions or reactions to things that happen on the court, whether it's like beating somebody with a move or a block or, it's really interesting. Yeah. It's like too short. It's like all the stuff that the NBA guys do, but it's different and it's different energy coming from the women of the WNBA. It was very fun. It's entertaining. Like I can see why there's rivalries. I can see why people hate each other in the WNBA. I can see why these feuds come up because people are talking trash in these teams. And there was trash talking coming from Kyra Austin last night. Oh yeah, she had some interesting little like celebrations and it's very interesting. Fiercely saying this, Julie Alamont should be more assertive at the basket, but maybe Mabry and Sykes, whoa, they got dog in them. Yeah, I think that I agree with this. Cass said something about this last night. The move where Julie clears it out and drives down and goes underneath the basket and comes back around. She has to assess whether she's in the land of the giants and if she's going to try and lay up a reverse or anything like that. If Austin's nearby, she'd get blocked. But there did seem like there were times where she was able to get near the basket and she could have laid it up, but she passed it up just to bring the ball back around somewhere. And obviously, we're watching them on offense last night, and Julie's waiting for the ball. She's wide open, but her teammates don't see her, and they're missing opportunities. This definitely happened in the game last night. So we'd like Julie to be more aggressive. I think Marina and Brittany would agree that they want to have a more fleshed out complement of people that can score for the Tempo and not just rely on the two of them. And Julie Alamont may be the answer because there were definitely times where she was left wide open and they didn't find her. And the 1-3 that she made was so nice when she did. So they're going to work this out, and that they watch the tape today. They'll see some of these moments that I saw that they didn't take advantage of. But it also, once again, it comes back to Julie. She's got to be a little bit more selfish on the tempo, I think, to get points for herself. I think that this is true. Just because we're going to need all hands on deck to carry scoring. And we don't want Marina every game to have like 30 to 40 points and we've scored like 60 points for the game, right? Right? That's not at a certain point, the other team's just going to concentrate on Mabry and shutting her down, and we have nothing. So, diversity and diversifying your offensive sources on your team, just like the Raptors starting five, is very smart. Very, very smart, right? Right. Let's see. Fiercely saying this, and yes, Lex. In fact, Benley has a rough night with only 2 points, and she must improve upcoming games as she was already targeted as not deserving 1 million. I've seen her and support her. She is good. There's a, listen, in some ways, like, uh, Temi, she was at the Giants of Africa thing a couple nights ago. She's going to be an interesting vet for this team. But, just like with the Raptors, there may be some players that come up here, get a paycheck, and in some ways their motives may not be completely to go all out. You know what I'm saying? Olajuwon kind of stuff. So I don't know. Temi, this is just the first game. And in some ways, if she does have a nagging injury that's impacting her ability to play right now, we want to give her the benefit of the doubt. But it is true. There is a lot of noise in general WNBA discussion places that we overpaid for Fact Benley. And it's kind of a joke that we gave her the money that we did. But you know what? Considering we need a big and we need bigs, and once again, this could be applied to Pirtle and the things with the Raptors. You can see where if you don't have suitable sized people in your front line, you will get ate for lunch by people like Austin. Yeah. So even if it was an overpay for Temi, honestly, we need the bigs just to have a chance to compete. And hopefully she'll do something more. It's double whammy for me because I have Fag Benley on my fantasy WNBA team. And boy, did she not come through for me. I hope y'all enjoyed the first night of fantasy WNBA and your teams were kept up and you set up your teams and you're getting your matchups and enjoying it so far. It was the first night. We got some points last night. Yeah. Let's see. KT's here. Good morning, Kareem Thomas, dunk champion. In fact, you know what? I'm gonna give Fiercey a dunk real quick because Fiercey's been such a strong supporter of this channel for many years now, and we love the story of Fiercey and Fiercey Jr. and her journey as a young basketball player and the dreams she can have now with the tangible team of the Toronto Tempo in this country now that Fiercey Jr. is entering her collegiate years, and she will be playing for the Hurricanes in Quebec. And that'll be awesome. It'll be so good. 60 on the dunk charts for Fiercey. And I'm going to go ahead and give KT a dunk also. 69 for KT on the dunk charts. I realized I have not been giving enough dunks to you guys. And I'm going to try and make it so that I give at least 3 dunks every single show. Because I should be giving dunks every day. And I'm like, Lex, you didn't give a single dunk yesterday. I was like, what are you doing, bro? Start giving dunks. KT saying environment was awesome. Sucks we couldn't get the dub, but that hard work bled in from the Jays last year to this year's Raptors. Only thing missing was the mascot reveal. All right, this is a big deal to Kareem because, Kareem Thomas of Mississauga, he has some work in the past as a mascot. Yeah. KT used to put on a mascot uniform for games, and he had some work in that. Well, the mystery of the Tempo's mascot is not Metronome, is what the hell is the mascot? And Kareem was like, did y'all see the mascot yet? And I was like, I ain't seen no mascot. I don't know if they have a mascot yet. And maybe it's something that'll come down the road or something like that. And KT's like, I'm going to go down there and I'm going to be the mascot. He was like, dude's trying to solicit the job. Kareem Thomas wants to be the mascot for the Tempo, whatever it's going to be. So I don't know, man. We got to figure this out. Teresa Resch, where's the mascot? Some of us care about this. We want to know. Just as long as your mascotting does not have anything to do with streaking, Kareem Thomas. Let's just say that. Fiercely saying this, CBA negotiations stalled the season. Teams gathered late and did not have time to mesh. Mystics also had new pieces in their roster, but the core remained. We will play against teams who are in the same position as us with late comers, etc. Shout out to Cassandra Prosper from Montreal, who also played with the Capital Courts Academy in Ottawa. Now that's interesting. So that must have been the player that came into the game in the tunnel fits that was wearing the Habs jersey. Because I saw the Mystics tunnel fits coming in, when the players come in. And this is a big deal in the WNBA. I mean, it was cool to see the Tempo women with their outfits that they wanted to wear on the walk coming into the game. Well, there was one of the Mystics wearing a Habs jersey. And I was like, whoa, what's this got to do with the Habs jersey? But it was Canadian Prosper supporting her hometown hockey team in the NHL playoffs right now, which was kind of cool to see. I was like, why are they trolling us? I was like, I didn't realize that connection that Prosper was from that area. I thought maybe there was a Mystics player that was very much a troll. And they're like, I'm in Toronto. I'm going to wear Habs jersey. I thought that was interesting when I saw that. Yeah. Yeah. This offseason has been difficult. I mean, I would say most of the women in the WNBA would say everything was worth it considering the outcome of the CBA and that they're getting paid and they're getting a lot of things correctly at this point, much better than before. But it was a real detriment, specifically to our team in Portland Fire, that we really didn't have any ramp up or any kind of thing. And as Fiercey's saying, the Mystics have work from last year that they could build off of into this game last night. And we don't have no work from nothing. We just showed up. Some of these women have known each other for 10 days now. So it really is part of the equation. That may be the most important factor for the outcome of what happened last night is, Citron and Austin played together last year. And well, none of our players, I mean, unless, you count like them playing on teams together in the past, but actually we broke up all the little pairs. Like Laxa's not around Held anymore. Alamon's not around Milic. Milic got cut. So a lot of the little pairings of already kind of familiarity were kind of broken up in the last few training camp cuts. So they all got to learn each other and figure it out. There was one moment that was very interesting last night in the post-game interview with Austin and Citron. One of the interviews from Washington asked about playing against Brittany Sykes, their former teammate last year. And they asked Shakira specifically, what did you learn from Brittany in her leadership for you guys last year? And it wasn't a good answer. They both rolled their eyes, like Sonia and Kyra. And they were kind of like, how do we handle this question? And Austin basically said, can you ask me that question again to kind of stall for time on how to diplomatically answer this? I don't think they liked Sykes at all. In fact, there were times during the game last night when they scored on Sykes or did stuff that the bench was just cackling with laughter and happiness that they were kind of beating Brittany. So I don't think Brittany was liked in Washington. I don't think that the young players liked her style of leadership because basically when Austin answered the question, she said, well, in the absence of leadership, you have to find leadership for yourself, is what she said. Now, that doesn't bode well for our team. And if we're trying to look for leadership from Brittany Sykes, well, the team she left or she got traded from mid-season last year from Washington to Seattle, those young players did not appreciate her leadership, obviously, because Sonia and Kyra had nothing good to say about Brittany Sykes in that interview. I would just say that. That's just a little aside. I don't want to say anything. It may be a fit, a personality thing. It could be that, Brittany's a 10-year pro and they were all first and second year players. And in some ways, she just was like not the right leadership style for that group. Hopefully she's the right leadership style for our group, though. Yeah, that was an interesting thing there. Fiercey saying this. Yes, the presser where IQ was eavesdropping. Mamu said they go on couples trips. That's cute. Well, their girlfriends are best friends. This whole season, Mamu's girlfriend, Sadie's, has been hanging out with IQ's girlfriend. There's actually a little group of them. There was a group of them for a little while that hung out this whole year. Scotty's girl is involved in it too. Alyssa and Mercedes, and then Abaji's wife and mother of his child, Avery, was in this group too. So before Oshai got traded, those four women would hang out, and they were like the Raptors' girlfriend wives. And IQ's girlfriend was one of the people too. And they were all real tight. Like I would see on Mercedes' Instagram, because I met her at the game when I went on Brandon Ingram's ticket and sat in the family section. And I met Sandro's girlfriend, Mercedes. She's very nice. She shared a banana bread with me from the family room. They have all kinds of food downstairs, right? You've seen it on Open Gym, right? But she gave me some of the Raptors banana bread for friends and family only. And she's just really nice. So I started following her online. And I've even said hi to her a couple times at other games I saw later in the year. And she remembered me. But yeah, they're a little clique. It's like IQ's girlfriend, Sandro's girlfriend, Scotty's baby mama, Alyssa, and Oshai's wife was a part of it too. But yeah, it's kind of cool little clique there. And I don't know if they all go together, but definitely Sandro and IQ and their ladies go together. That's right. Yeah. G saying this. Remember when we complained about refs and we're told to stop crying, but when these teams lose, they lose it on the refs, and that's okay. This is the thing. It's yeah, it's so funny. Yeah, the Lakers have been absolutely nuclear about John Goble. Yeah, it is kind of crazy. These refs yesterday. Let's do a little ref manipulation report for the Tempo Mystics game last night. It's kind of fun to learn the refs in different places and WNBA style of reffing. This is my specialty, and one of the things that if you're a new fan of the Tempo and you're watching and you want new content, this is something I'll give from my channel is really deep insight on the refereeing and why the refereeing is the way it is. Now, the crew chief last night was Fatu, but she was kind of a wallflower. She didn't really like throw her weight around in the game and making a lot of the calls. It was Charles Watson. Charles Watson was calling stuff like crazy. And we saw a real huge glut of a lot of offensive fouls for both teams, specifically with some of the picks and the screens that were a little bit of oomph. And it was funny because Austin was a big recipient of some of these offensive fouls. And it was really kind of working well for us because we get the ball back at times. But they were calling both ways. Sabali would get it too. And yeah, he was very touchy with the call. And for me, it was weird watching the way the refs called this game last night because I just got used to watching the physicality of the Cleveland-Toronto Raptors series and just how much was allowed in those Raptors games that we just watched and how little is allowed in the WNBA. In some ways, it was really kind of crazy. It's like, whoa, that was very little contact, but they're going to call a foul there. There was some bad calls too. There was one call that they absolutely got wrong. And I don't even totally understand why they did it that way. Fatu and Charles and Claire, they went to go review an out of bounds play, and it was off Brittany. And the challenge was that Washington believed it was off Brittany. So they challenged the call. But for some reason, they didn't want to change the call to a foul because it was a foul. They fouled Brittany Sykes, and the ball went out of bounds. And it was technically off Brittany, though, that she last touched it. And it was shown in the video. Now, I'm being fair. I'm a fair fan. Like, I'm watching it, like, down the mind, like the ref should be. That was totally the wrong call. They gave us the ball. We benefited from it. But in some ways, the call should have been that they rescinded the out-of-bounds call and said it was a foul. But maybe that's what they did. They just didn't announce it on the announced broadcast. But that was such a weird play because it was very clearly off Slim Sykes. But they did foul her before that. And if in the way that the NBA would handle that with a review call is they'd look at it and they say, oh, we called out of bounds on Washington is the official call first, but actually this is a foul on Washington and it should be side out for the Tempo on a foul. So that was a weird call. They didn't get that exactly right. But I guess in some ways, sometimes they don't call it exactly what it is, but they get the right outcome anyway, which was that we should get the ball because there was a foul. But it wasn't out of bounds on the Mystics. It was out of bounds on the Tempo. So, yeah, there's weird calls like that. Touchy calls last night. There was a lot of foul calls in that game. And in some ways, going from the non-whistles of the NBA playoffs to this was a shock to me. I was like, whoa. Yeah, Claire Simmons was okay. She was a little feisty and a little wrong with her calls. Charles Watson, he couldn't blow his whistle enough. He was just enjoying it. This man is blowing whistles left and right like crazy. And in some ways, it was annoying. But also, they weren't taking no guff either. There was some complaining from the Mystics players, and they just weren't having it. They weren't listening to them. Marina almost crashed out on them late in the game, which was hilarious. That's high drama right there. If not just watching the tempo play, just watching the emotions of Mabry on the court may be entertaining. And the crash out factor came very close. She was teetering on the edge. And Sykes came over and kind of grabbed her and brought her over, because she had a lot to say to the refs about, a certain call that got called on her late. And yeah, it's going to be interesting to watch all that. Very, very interesting to see that kind of stuff. That's right. Yeah. Fiercey saying infamous call was awesome. Yeah. No mascot yet. All right. This is a weird thing that I saw yesterday. Some people are asking what we should call our fan nation for the tempo. And one of the leading names that people think we should call Tempo Nation, first of all, they want to call Tempo Nation Rhythm Nation, like Janet Jackson's old album. We are a part of the Rhythm Nation. I love that. I think that's cool. It makes sense. Tempo. We're the Rhythm Nation. I think that's a winner. Now, the other one is not. I'm like, what is this? They think we should call the Tempo fans Tempo Tantrums. I hate that. What does that mean? That's going to mean that we're always upset, that we're always mad? No, that's not the right nickname for Tempo fans. Tempo Tantrums. It may sound funny and it may sound goofy, but it also sounds like somebody of another team made up that idea for us. And some of us are like, yeah, it's cool. Let's be the Tantrums. No. Do we want to be what a little baby in the middle of the mall and the food court is doing on the floor, kicking and screaming? No, we don't. We don't want to be the Tempo Tantrums. This is a ridiculous name. Let's not do this. Another fan was suggesting, and they were from Seattle, and they were saying we should all stand for the beginning of the game before they make a basket. Yeah, they do this in a lot of teams out west. They don't do it a lot on the East Coast. It's a West Coast thing. And honestly, I would say this. In some ways, that's kind of ableist. Some people aren't going to stand because they can't. Some people physically have a hard time standing for longer than 10 minutes. So in some ways, I don't like this idea either. Just because you're normalized to it because you were lived out west and you were rooted for a team that did it there doesn't mean the tempo culture needs to adapt that either, is what I'm saying. So honestly, anybody who has the ego to think that they can direct what this whole entire fan base is going to do, whether it's the name of the fan base or some sort of thing like everybody has to stand until the tempo make their first basket, get over yourself, you egotist. You don't have that power. It's one thing if the organization asks everybody to do it and implements it as part of the culture plan, but for a fan to just come on Reddit and say we should all stand for until they make the first basket, no, we shouldn't, because some of us are old and we don't want to stand that long, and we're an expansion team, and it may take a little while for the first basket sometimes. So yeah, get over yourself trying to say stuff like that. Seriously. Yeah, fan culture is going to happen naturally. It's like I tell Raptor freaks all the time. We can't name our players nicknames. Just say, oh, this is the nickname of this player. They're going to be this. That's not how it works. The announcers make the nicknames, and they have to stick, and they come around that way. You can't make the nicknames yourself unless you really got a good nickname and it really takes. So, yeah, the culture and the things about the tempo and what we're going to do, it's all going to come around, and it's going to naturally come about the way it's supposed to. I like the fact that tempo fans were trying to do the wave during the game last night, which is kind of cool. They were doing the wave in Coca-Cola Coliseum for a little while there. And that's kind of fun. I think the wave is fun. Yeah, you don't have to stand up for that. You can if you want. Whoa. G saying this. I've been watching the WNBA for 3 years. This is the first year that I noticed where the officiating is being strict on illegal screens and not allowing freedom of movement. Well, there is a sports study in basketball that they found out that a certain amount of the percentage of injuries are happening on the screens. And it really is the whole thing where, if you think about it, a player's defenseless if they don't know that screen's there and they run right into a brick wall. And some people were getting hurt unnecessarily. And part of the problem was some of these players were big-time stars in the NBA that they didn't want sitting out. So it's much like rules that changed in the NFL to protect the quarterback. The NFL changed some rules at a certain point in their history to try and really help quarterbacks get away from getting concussions, right? So this is what this is. In some ways, if your team is not communicating and somebody's not calling out screen, you could run right into a big old player like Austin and get flattened. And then your season's over all of a sudden. So this is the whole movement for why this is happening on the NBA and WNBA, is because they have determined by analytics that a majority of serious injuries happen on screens. So this is why they're doing this. And I don't disagree with it. I think that this is okay. And I think that it's really cool that somebody like Jamal Shed has gamed it to something to be useful in his game and how he draws the fouls off the offensive screens. He's very much good at this. Davion Mitchell taught him some stuff. So, yeah, we need to get a player on tempo that can learn it like Shed did for the Raptors. You know what I'm saying? And I could see a couple of candidates that could be that person. It could be Kiki Rice. It could be Mabry. It could be Sykes, something like that. Kaz is here. Good morning, Lex and Raptor Free Crew. Good morning to you, Trucker Kaz. It's Saturday, so the man's not on the road again this morning. Another very enthusiastic WNBA Toronto Tempo fan, and Kaz, he's loving the new team and watching it too, just like Infamous. One thing I forgot to mention is the refs were horrible. I don't think they were actually that horrible. I think that they were just very whistly, and they were calling a lot of stuff. But, in some ways, I don't have any problem with what they were doing as long as it's fair, as long as it's right down the line. I will say this, though. There was a little bit of an energy that I felt from the game yesterday that the Tempo are going to pay a Canadian tax. Yeah. The things we learned from the Raptors and their expansion and their time still is that, there is going to be maybe a little bit of a proclivity to not be helpful to the Canadian team. And there was a little bit of that kind of feeling at times where I felt like, okay, they may actually go against us sometimes just because we're Toronto Tempo. Seriously, I got a little bit of that energy last night, just a little bit. We'll have to see as a case-by-case basis. Each game is, once again, one of my specialties. The regulars on this channel know ref report and the referee stuff that I do for the Raptors and the NBA. I'm going to be doing it the same for the Tempo and the WNBA. And this is just my first chance to see people like Charles Watson and Claire Simmons and Fatou Sissoko Stevens and their personalities as referees and what we can expect. I'm keeping track because I know all the refs in the NBA very, very well at this point. And I know their personalities, and I kind of know how they like to call stuff. Well, I've learned that Charles Watson is whistle happy, is what I learned last night. That's for sure. Fiercely saying, you Scotty, clap, 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 clap. Yeah, she's going to be somebody that the city will fall in love with. That blue-collar scrapper, already rolling around on the floor in game one of the season. Already out there rolling around and getting after it. Yeah, she'll be a fan favorite if she keeps working like that, right? Right? G saying this, Temi is a great transition scorer. They need to get the ball down the court faster to her. She also needs to adapt to the style of grimy play as well. Yeah, that's the thing is like, is she a finesse big like Chris Bosh? Is she somebody who doesn't like to get in the trenches and battle with the size? Because that could be a problem right there. We're going to need physicality. We're going to need the bigs to play as bigs. This is something that they do aspire to do more, the Tempo, is to run, is to get down the court more. So hopefully they can unlock Temi for her fast break production and her abilities in transition. Hopefully they can do that. Once again, this is something that needs connection, trust, and understanding and chemistry and gelling. And, well, that may be a little milestone or benchmark that we see in the future about Temi. Good game. That there we go. There's the thing that G was talking about after the first game, where Fagbenle is actually a very good lane runner on fast breaks. Yeah, I want to see that. She did not impress last night, though. Stargate is here. Good morning to Stargate. He's saying Kiki will be fine. Don't turn on her already. I'm not turning on anybody. She's a very smart player and will eventually get it. Give her some grace. Of course. It's her first WNBA game. We had 5 rookies play last night, make their debuts in the WNBA. First time ever. A few of them were Europeans that were older, that have come in later. including Conde, Euskadi, and Fazula. So, and then you have Tiani and Kiki, and their actual age coming in from college. In some ways, you could say Conde and Euskadi are pros for a few years now and not actually rookies because they played EuroLeague stuff. And well, Kiki's straight from university and national championship, and Tiani Key is the same. She's straight from university. And the learning curve for those two American players is different than the learning curve for the Spanish, the Lithuanian, and the Greek player. Although the Greek player seems really rough and raw, she's definitely going to need some polish. But Euskadi and Conde are ready to help right away. I'm not dissing anybody, Stargate. I'm positive for the whole team. The closest thing I've come to dissing is maybe Temi just now. And it's really just we're wondering what's going on with her. This is the thing. My channel is always a place where if you think I'm being wrong, call me out. Especially with sensitivity to the WNBA. Because I've covered the NBA for a long, long time, and I can be very unfair to people. I know, and I can be critical, and I can be toxic in some of the things I say on this channel. But you guys, in some ways, are checks and balance for me. If I'm out of pocket on something, like I said to Brandon Ingram or somebody else, I want y'all to come and check me. But I don't think this is warranted. I don't think I've said anything about Kiki Rice that's negative right now. All I did was read her box score off Stargate. I know you have a personal connection to wanting her to do well because of your very, very astute assumption that we were going to draft Kiki Rice like 3 months before we actually drafted her because you knew an inside source. But yeah, if I am totally out of pocket on her, definitely call me out. But I think this is not warranted at this time because I don't think I said anything bad about her. I didn't. She's interesting. She's going to have a learning curve. She's not going to be a starter. She's going to be in that shed role. And the thing I'm looking forward to with her is I want to see her beyond her age wisdom and her kind of like Jamal Shed as far as just how she carries herself as a pro and also what she does on the court smarts wise. Like I want to see her not make as many rookie mistakes as most rookies would because she is that kind of cerebral floor general leader kind of player that she is. But it's tough because she got drafted to a team that is very guard loaded, and the guards that are in the depth chart ahead of her are more experienced and ready to help the team right now. And in some ways, Kiki Rice is going to have a learning curve of being in the league and the orientation of being in the league, just like any rookie would in the WNBA or the NBA. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, exactly, Lex. Film, and more film. Well, I hope there's practice involved too, where they're actually getting out on the court and they're going through the motions and kind of talking about situational stuff and getting it all sorted out. I mean, Sandy's got to she's got to kind of, where do you start building from? Well, let's just get out there and scrimmage. I want to see you guys a bit and get a kind of a feel for what I may be inspired to ask you guys to do. And then, well, let's work on inbounds plays. Let's work on end of game situations. Let's work on, working on our half court offense. There's all kinds of different kinds of things they can practice and specialize on. And I really feel like the way the CBA happened, they haven't had time to do any of this yet. And they'll be doing it as we go through the season. So yeah, film and practice. Film and practice. Yes, Stargate. Yes. Cass Sam, my wife's favorite player is Sabali. She's tough, man. You can't help but root for her. She's got a lot of she's gonna be like the anvil for our team. She's gonna be taking a lot of hits. And in some ways that's a thankless job, but you know what? She seems like she's very tough. And that may have been a cheap shot to her gut at that one point where she was like this. Oh, you don't really go over like that unless somebody's doing some sort of dirty shot to your gut, right? Right. But yeah, that's cool that that's her favorite player so far is Niara. Very, very cool. KT saying this. Good morning, KT. I know it's a crazy question, and please excuse me if I come across rude, but did the WNBA players play during that time of the month? I ask because when my wife is on her period, she's basically a write-off. Oh my gosh. Yeah, there's going to be a learning curve to this. Between this question and Slug Deezy in the Discord last night going on about how, of course, Tampax is the advertiser for the WNBA. I mean, come on. All right. In some ways, we've got to be not like normal guys and be kind of like, I know we got to touch it's touchy subjects. That's why I say, once again, we are not beyond reproach. And if we say something that is not in good taste, if we ask something that's kind of crazy or something like, a little bit like what Kareem just asked, that's why we have Fiercey. Fiercey's going to be our commissioner of equality and women's equality, and making sure that we're not being chauvinist or patriarchal or anything kind of weird like that. I mean, I had a weird moment last night watching the post game conference, and Sandy called the play a man, and I was like, no, they're women, they're not men. She said she got to get her man, and I'm like, wait a second, but they're women playing. She got to get her woman. I don't know. Maybe there is something in the terminology when Sandy's calling things out. She's like, man defense. We got to play man defense. I'm like, wait, it's a WNBA. Don't you play woman defense? Or something like that. I don't know. It's like the vernacular, and they just transfer it, and it's just basketball wide, and it doesn't really matter. We're not seeing sex here. It's not women's basketball, Lex. It's just basketball. These are kind of things we got to be sensitive to. And Fiercey is the commissioner of like, well, does this piss you off? Is this like, are you insulted as a woman, Fiercey, by this question by Kareem? I don't know the answer to this, KT. I would say this. One thing is, let's not generalize women's periods as everybody's equal in what they deal with and what they have to go through. There are women that have much worse periods than others. Some people have very easy time with their menstruation, and some people do not. So I think it'd be maybe on a case-by-case basis. This opens up a whole new realm of questioning for me, is like, do WNBA scouts and GMs take into account maybe the information about how the player deals with their cycle? Because that could be very kind of important information for whether, you're worried about this or this, right? With what Kareem's saying here. I don't know if your question is insensitive, but I also think that it's interesting, that you brought it up. I mean, I don't know. Maybe Fiercey can help and elaborate on this a little bit. She may be she's obviously a better expert on this subject than we are. Let's see. Trevor's saying this. Tempo going to be very entertaining team to watch every night. I'm a fan of the WNBA and will be a big fan of the Tempo because I love the game of basketball. Yeah, we know Trevor. This is another person on this channel that has been very well versed with the WNBA, and both him and Fiercey and Cool Cat and a lot of other people on this channel know more about the WNBA than I do. And in some ways, I'll be leaning on people like Trevor and MJ and Cool Cat to help guide me so that, we flesh out that this is a hive mind and that we all kind of share information and talk together. So you guys can definitely be the teachers and I'll be the student for some of the stuff we're talking about with the WNBA, for sure, Trevor. And I respect and I appreciate your vast knowledge and time already spent following the WNBA. I don't get hyper fixated on something until my city's involved. And now that Toronto's involved, I'm hyper fixated on the Tempo and the WNBA. And it will definitely be something that I'm going to know more and more as time goes on, because I won't be an expert about the Tempo, just like I'm an expert about the Toronto Raptors. That's right. Fiercely saying this, Lex, to your point about trolling, expect to see a lot this season as many players keep receipts for Marina. Yeah, there was one point where I saw Marina approach Austin right near the end of the game. She got right in her face and she said something to her. And I'm like, wow. I mean, I'll bet there's definitely a sisterhood across the WNBA to an extent. Everybody is a one big family. And in some ways, they don't want to hurt the game by making it look bad in dumb ways. But there's also probably a lot of fun like this in this kind of energy that hopefully is not taken too seriously. I'm sure there's a lot of like real beefs and people that absolutely hate each other. And yeah, there probably will be some receipts from Marina because of how she's talked trash in the past too. I don't know. This is just a little bit of the bonus entertainment for the Tempo in the WNBA season, I guess. The trolling will be there as part of it. Yeah. Fiercely saying, I like Rhythm Nation, but Toronto Tempo tantrums ain't it. Yeah, it ain't it. I think that somebody made up that nickname that doesn't want us to be put in the right light. Like, do we want to be tantrums? No, because that means we're upset. And we don't want to be upset. We want to be happy because the Tempo are winning. That's right. That's right. Let's do Toronto Tempo Redditor of the day real quick. And it's a Manta Ray CDN, Manta Ray Canadian. And they've taken a beautiful picture of the historic tip-off in Toronto last night at Coca-Cola Coliseum. It's a very, very nice picture. So good job, Manta Ray Canadian, for capturing a Canadian heritage moment. The very first moment of the Tempo with the tip off. And who was the first Tempo player to ever touch the ball, like Ed Pickney was for the Toronto Raptors? Well, I think it was Temmie, because she jumped in that jump ball and she may have just grazed the ball as the Mystics got the ball in the jump. Yeah, very cool. Yeah, Fiercely saying Niara Savali was all effort and active. Yeah, she's busting her ass and getting lumps too. Getting lumps. And that's why I'm worried. I mean, y'all kind of hinted earlier that she's been injury prone in her WNBA career so far. That that's a problem. If Temmie is kind of a paper tiger right now, and Niara is injury prone, we definitely need that work, Monica Wright Rogers. And let's not short staff the Tempo for bigs like the Raptors have seemed to be like for years now. No, is there some unwritten rule that if you're a Toronto basketball team, you're not allowed to be proper sized and you're supposed to be undersized? Is there some sort of rule about this, Adam Silver, you bastard? I'm wondering about that. Because, like, man, we need more size. We need bigs. We need bigs, especially if bigs may be getting hurt or having problems. Fiercely saying maybe Stargate tuned in when you were talking about Kiki Arafin and thinks it was about Rice. Yeah, it may be. I was talking about Kiki Arafin for a second there. I don't know. Either way, I don't think I said anything bad about Kiki Rice. This is just the beginning, and I don't have any expectations for any of them. I don't have any expectations for the team. I don't have any expectations for them individually. I'm just here to discover and be pleasantly surprised. And, I'm going to talk basketball for what winning basketball looks like and building this culture and this team in the right way, in the right direction so that it can be successful. And in some ways, the constructive criticism may sound like me dissing these players, but it's really because I want to point something out about maybe where they could improve and things will be better. Because I had a lot of success this year with the Raptors, criticizing them, and then magically they do what I was saying the next day and it would work. And I was like, Brandon, could you do this real quick? And then boom, Brandon does it the next game. So it's all out of joy and love to the team. I'm not a toxic fan that's like detracting and putting down the team just to feed my own ego. I'm literally talking about the team in ways that is constructive so that they can help be better. And I want to be a good role model for fans in both fan nations, Raptors and Tempo, on how to be a positive fan and not be a toxic fan that's just kind of crazy in what they say. And some of their beliefs is crazy too. We got to get on the right level of understanding in basketball and the sport, right? Some people just don't understand the sport, and their basis of their opinions and stuff like that is crazy sometimes. But yeah, we're going to be very supportive and not expecting anything and just letting them be who they are and just reporting it and maybe giving a little guidance and constructive criticism, but nothing too crazy. Nothing too crazy. Like, see, I'm trying to diffuse the situation with Marina and the jump ball in the game right now. A lot of casual fans or people that are new to basketball or just don't understand why she did that. I gave you the reason at the beginning of the stream why Mabry walked off of the jump ball. Because with 2.4 seconds and she's the best shooter, she can't be jumping the jump ball. And it's a better option for her to try and intercept an inbounds play by the Mystics to get a shot with 2.4 than for her to be the jumper and not get a chance to get the ball. Because even in that situation, she's jumping against a taller Mystics player. She's going to lose that jump ball. And she's not even be in position, even if they had the jump ball. It'd be almost like if one of the other Tempo were jumping the ball and they could bat it to her for the last shot, that would have been better. But her being in the middle of the jump ball was not good for that situation because she's our best option to take the last shot. And in 2.4 seconds, she can't tip the ball on the jump ball and run out and get the ball herself again and shoot it, unless it's a really crazy trick play that Sandy and them have figured out and they practiced and they've done and they trust each other to do. No, in some ways, I get it. Some people look bad. It looked like she didn't care and she sabotaged the end of the game. But that's the whole reasoning right there. I'm telling you guys, is a basketball mind and coach's thought is that you can't have her jump that jump ball, and that's why she walked off. And she was playing for an inbounds steal and then getting the shot. That way she gets the ball and has time to make the shot. Does that make sense? Is a lot of people didn't understand that at all, and a lot of people were really mad at Marina for that. Some people are already mad at her and hate her because they think that she sabotaged the very first game of the tempo from winning. And that's what I'm saying. Casuals and idiots will think every time the team plays, they're supposed to win, but they don't look at the realistic settings of the whole game and why this is happening. These players have been together for 10 days. Okay, chill out. You can't be so cutthroat to win that you're pissed off at Mabry because she walked out of the jump ball circle. It's just ridiculous to me. Seriously, yeah. Let's keep going. Trevor's saying, so now we all know the reason that Ingram was playing bad in the playoffs. Yeah, it was divulged that Brandon had surgery in the last couple of days. He had a bone spur cut out of his heel. Yeah, and Lewinberg's got his doctor expert on here right now, and she's basically talking about the whole procedure and what just happened to Brandon Ingram with his bone spurs. He has a bone spur in his heel that they got cut out there. Let me find it real quick. I want to see what she said exactly because the diagnosis was really on point. So this is Allie Rendley, Dr. Allie Rendley. And she wrote this: often a last resort for lingering heel pain, the spur itself is a part of the puzzle. We'll need to address underlying inflammation, example, plantar fasciitis, like IQ, and reduce stress with a period of offloading, depending on location of the spur, may require a month before he can ramp up training. So Josh adds on to this: a month or so of rest and rehab would allow BI to start ramping up in early June, which still gives him a full off season of work. That is key. As Darko noted earlier this week, last summer was about getting and staying healthy, but BI needs to prioritize skill development this summer and getting more strength. He said it personally himself, is that he wants to be a stronger body, stronger player. And because he understands, like the rest of these guys are saying the same things. Guy says, I need more conditioning. Jacoby says, I need more conditioning. And Brandon's saying the same thing, that now he's a Raptor. He understands the standards are higher for work on the court and getting after it. And Brandon wants to carry his own weight. And this is all good signs, but I'm glad that they was timely about this surgery, not like Bruce Brown doing a surgery right when the season's starting a couple years ago. That was stupid. So he did it right away, and that's good because we do need Brandon to not have a off season where he's just recovering from an injury. We need him to have, like Josh said, a workup to his game and improving himself in the off season. Because even though he's a 10-year vet, he can still get better, and he wants to. That drive is there. The DeRozan code is there. So yeah, this was good information to find out a little bit more details about Ingram and his heel injury and just how bad it was. Well, he had to have surgery, and that shows it right there. Yeah, Fiercey saying at Kareem, at my daughter's level, I've never heard about a player skipping a game due to regular menstruation cramps condition, but they may at times skip practice. That's interesting. So she's saying that with her experience with Fiercey Jr., they may skip practice, but they always make the games. So I don't know. I mean, this is interesting to me as a man who has no children and doesn't have any daughters or anything. This is not really a world that I know very well, but I'm glad Fiercey can fill in the blanks for us. And I don't know, does that answer help you, Kareem, here? It's like, this is what I'm wondering. KT saying this, if the tempo ladies cycle are anything like my wives, they probably mimic the bad boy Pistons. See, he's towing that line, but I think he's being comical about it. This is why he's our dunk champion, is because he is funny. And this is hilarious. The other thing I wonder about with cycles is that women naturally cycle up the same time, right? When they're around each other a lot. And you would think with like a sports team, that they're around each other so much that maybe everybody's gonna be on their same schedule for their cycles, that they may sync up as the season goes on. And it could very well be what Kareem's saying is, like, if there is a certain period of time, pre the cycle, that the team has a little bit more edge, Maybe this makes sense. I don't know. KT, you made me laugh, so I'm going to give you another dunk. Even though maybe I shouldn't be encouraging this. I don't know. Maybe I shouldn't be encouraging this. I don't know. We need the fair sex to chime in on this, whether this is not the right kind of topics to talk about with the tempo right here. But I mean, inquiring minds want to know. In some ways, these are questions that maybe we've thought about before, but never dared to ask. There you go. Stargate saying, my Kiki Rice comment wasn't geared towards you specifically, Lex. It was more in general. See, Stargate is a keyboard warrior, and I appreciate that about him. In some ways, he's the epitome of a Raptor freak, and then he's a tempo freak too. And that means we're positive fans that stand up for our team. And if we're in social media spaces where people are being disrespectful or really crazy with their opinions and overreacting in very nephew and niece ways, well, Stargate he's saying it already. He's saying, don't disrespect Kiki. I mean, we could look at it this way. What did Lauren Betts do in the game last night? She's the number 4 pick in the draft. She didn't score nothing either. So it's like, Dugalich, she did score 1 basket, but all 3 of the UCLA draft picks didn't do jack shit in the game last night. And in some ways, it's just welcome to the WNBA. You're a rookie, and this is a new world, and you got to get your footing, and you got to figure out what this is all about. I think that one of the people that will benefit the most from Sandy Brondello getting the offense all set up and everybody on the same page is Kiki Rice. Because in some ways, what we're relying on Rice to do is to be that backup point guard that makes the bench run right. We know that one of the most important roles on a basketball team can be the backup point guard, because the backup point guard sets up continuity from the starting lineup so that the excellence of play when the starters come out does not drop off. And, Malachi Flynn was one of the hugest failures as a backup point guard in Raptors history. He really set us back and really hurt us in those years when he was on our team playing that role. And, well, we need organization, and then Kiki will be unlocked. The more that Sandy establishes the system that she wants to run and everybody knows what it is, the more Kiki will thrive. And at the beginning of the season, without the roadmap of how Sandy wants to do things, and they're just out there winging it without much practice or organization, well, it's going to look like what it looks like. And I'm not surprised Rice didn't score in her first game because, the tempo really are 10 days together, 2 weeks together, barely together, no time together. It's like you're taking on a new league, a professional league of the WNBA. You're taking on being in a new country, in a whole different country. And you're also taking on the fact that this team is really starting from scratch and they haven't established anything. But this will be something to watch for the whole season. Is Kiki's more comfortable and playing with more confidence as Sandy establishes the system and everybody knows what to do. That's where it's going to happen, because she's a point guard. She's a guard that has to interact with other teammates to get the full extent of her powers and what she does. And if they're not on the same page or even close to gelling correctly, well, she's not going to look good out there, right? And that's what casuals need to know right now that are being idiots towards Kiki. That's the argument right there, is what I just said. And I know Stargate might take some of my talking points that I just said, and he's going to write them out in some comments towards some Kiki Rice detractors. I'll bet you he will. Fiercely saying this: my daughter is the first to say I won't make her miss school or an engagement unless she is missing an arm or leg. But I believe in being there for the team and taking appropriate measures not to miss practices or games, rest, Tylenol, tea, etc. So this is interesting. This is really interesting insight, and I appreciate you being open about private stuff. That and the way they handle it is, and I like this. Fiercely Jr. is very much like, listen, my team's dependent on me. I'm not going to let this get in the way. If I need more rest, if I need a cup of tea, if I need to take the Tylenol, I'm going to go through it, and I'm going to be there for them anyway. I mean, it's just like a man with an injury. You have a nagging heel or ankle injury or something like that. You want to be there for your team. You grin and bear it. You go through it. You show up for them, and you're there. And I'll bet you there's a lot of that with this particular subject that Kareem has brought up today, that it may depend on the individual. There may be some Ben Simmons out there like, nah, I'm out. I got a hangnail. Oh, I'm on my period. Yeah, I'm out. And there may be other players in WNBA. There's just a diversity. There's probably different ways of dealing with it. I'll play. I don't care. It's the heaviest day of the month. I don't care. I'll be out there. Yeah, I'm out there. I don't care. I'm gonna go through this. I'm tough. In some ways, I can see that. I can see that. It may be on an individual basis, and there may be some Ben Simmons out there. Let's just put it that way. KT saying, "Thank you, Fiercey. Sorry if I'm coming off as a dick. I'm really not trying to." No, you're fine. In some ways, I think that you're mixing a little bit of comedy with actual real questions here, and I don't think it's wrong. If it is, once again, and I'll give this designation to any female that's watching my channel or any person that's a social justice warrior and somebody who feels very strongly on equality and things like that. I'm not this person that cannot be approached to be a better person. There's a lot of idiots that look like me, white males, that are just like, how dare you criticize me? Oh, no, I'm an open learner, and I'm not against becoming more and more uh, well-rounded as an individual because I understand perspectives better and I want to be a better person. And there's a lot of energy out there where people are just like, I'm an asshole and just get used to it. No, if I say something that's out of pocket or wrong, and KT's probably mirroring my energy, let us know and we will modify our behavior and we'll be better people for it. Because that's the way I look at it. And that's the kind of role model I try to be for the rest of the world. Because there's a whole lot of jokers out there that don't want to ever admit that they're wrong, or they get upset or sensitive if you call them out for being an asshole. Ego is a horrible thing sometimes. It can very much get in the way of you growing as a person. Let's just put it that way. Yeah, this isn't just a basketball channel. Basketball is life. And when it's a life channel too, that's right. We're going to do that. That's right. Let's keep going. Trevor J saying this: when you see people putting out bullshit rumors about Tempo trading Marina on the last day of the training camp, I'm mad at you for posting that. Trevor, when you see this garbage and you know it's not true, don't proliferate it. Don't put it in new places. Don't bring it to us. Just see it, laugh at it, and say, look at this dumbass shit. But don't bring it to us, because you bring it to us, and then all of a sudden, all of us start clicking on it, and they get exactly what they want. So anything that's like this, like that post that you did share in our Discord, ignore it. Do not bring it to us. We know that stuff is all out there. You don't have to show us that it's there, because in some ways, if you bring it to us, well, maybe some people might click on it. And that's exactly what these idiots want. You're rewarding them. So the best thing to do is ignore all shitty content, whether it's stupid, crazy ass rumors like the Tempo waived Marina Mabrey the night before their first game from the Indiana Fever fan base, first of all, and even like AI slop. Anything that's AI slop, that's just made by AI, it's lazy as fuck, has no heart or authenticity like this channel. Just ignore all this shit. Stop clicking on it, because you encourage it every time you click and engage with it. And bringing it to us is not helping the situation. You're giving more attention to it. So just let it lie in the dark. We don't need to see it. If it's a reputable source and it's true news, I'd love to have it in the Discord. But if it's an example of something like that, just leave it be. We know that kind of shit is out there. We really do. Really do. KT saying this: hey guys, I was a mascot for one game at New York High School as a Gator, and just ran around dry humping everyone. Oh my gosh, that's horrible. The experience was amazing. That's why I'm now passionate about mascots. We do know that KT, much like the great Al Bundy, had an amazing high school career, not for Polk County, but he was a running back in high school, and injuries derailed KT's athletic career. So he pivoted briefly to being a Gator, an alligator on the sideline of a football game, and he dry humped everybody. That just sounds wrong, KT. Why did you do that? Did you get consent? Did you just run up to people and do that? That's not teaching kids good behavior. They shouldn't be doing that. Now, if you were a dog, a mascot, I might have understood that behavior, but I don't see gators running up to people and humping their legs like dogs do. I would have been able to connect that and say, okay, he's playing a character. He's a dog, and dogs hump legs. But no, he's just humping people because he's a gator and you enjoyed it. Okay. Listen, you're passionate about mascots. Well, maybe you should talk to Teresa Resch. Maybe you should. Maybe you might be the right one for the Tempo. You got to have a concept, though, maybe. You say, this is my concept. This is what I'm going to be. and you better wow them in your elevator pitch, or you might not get your foot in the door there. Yeah, KT, that's right. That's right. Let's go. Anyway, I can bring in Kareem's glory days on the football field as a running back. I will bring it up as a subject. That's right. You go look at the newspaper clippings. Kareem Thomas was a man in Western Ontario, Toronto area on the high school scene at a certain point. He was the man. They had the clippings. That's right. Fiercey thinks it's funny. So she's not taking offense to the dry hump and alligator. Yeah, that's not the right concept. He's like, Teresa, I want to tell you about this amazing mascot idea I have. Okay, hello, who are you? I'm Kareem Thomas. I'm 3-time dunk champion for the Raptor Freak channel. Oh, okay. All right. What is that? You could have an alligator who humps people. I think that'd be really good. I have a costume and I have experience dry humping people. Okay, get out of my office. That might be how it goes down there, right there. Right. This pitch, you do it, you get a foot in the door. It's like, Teresa, your 3 o'clock is here. Come in, please. Hello. Hi, I'm Kareem Thomas, Raptor Freak. Yeah, that'd be amazing. That'd be amazing. Anyway, anytime I can do reenactments or improvisational imagined conversations, I will do them on this channel. That's just part of the fun of this channel. That's right. Fiercely saying this, the way I see it, it's to prepare for her future and respect engagements, not constantly calling in sick at work for futile reasons, as when you will really need time off, your boss won't have empathy or understanding. This is really good mothering. This is really good parental guidance. Yeah, I mean, if you can grin and bear it and show up, that will get you a lot of things in this life. And if you're too easy to make excuses and say, I'm not going for this reason or that, yeah, you'll miss out. So this is really good. And plus, yeah, the whole cried wolf thing. Oh, you're always staying home, Fiercey Jr. No, you don't get the day off because you're always taking it. But when you do really need it and because you don't abuse it, you get it. This is exactly right. This is good. Man, this is good parenting. I'm going to give Fiercey another dunk for a good parenting, because this seems like this is really good parenting to establish these kind of values for Fiercey Jr. 63 on the dunk charts for Fiercey Salsera now. All right, let me check on my tabs some more. Let's see what else I got on here real quick. Let's see. Breaking news. Is there breaking news about either the tempo or the Raptors? I don't see any there. Let's do the wow, there's a frost warning. There's supposed to be the last frost for Ontario, but there is a frost warning for tonight. If you're thinking about planning your stuff, be careful and cover your stuff. I have been planning stuff myself already. And well, my cucumber plant got a little bit frosted up a couple nights ago, but it's resilient. It's tough. I think it's all right still. Straight goods on Canadian goods, guys. For over 85 years, Kawartha Dairy has been proud to be 100% Canadian-owned company, still operated by the same family that started it back in the beginning. Although it has grown tremendously from its early days, it remains headquartered in Bobcaygeon, Ontario, where it was founded. In 1937, Jack and Isla Crow took a leap of faith and bought a small dairy in Bobcaygeon. Jack had learned the trade while working for Oshawa Dairy, but the newly renamed Kawartha Dairy didn't bear much resemblance to that larger big city firm. At that time, it consisted of a small, simple 3-room building where the cold storage area was cooled with ice cut from the lake. So yeah, there's another ice cream company out there that's straight up 100% Canadian, and that's Kawartha Dairy. I know I push Chapman's on this channel a lot, and they're a great company also. But today I'm going to bring you Kawartha Dairy ice cream, and go check them out. If you see them in a grocery store or a convenience store or somewhere like that, you see the label Kawartha Dairy, established 1937. Know that you're buying 100% Canadian goods from a 100% Canadian company, and you're 100% supporting Canadian industry and business and jobs. And in some ways, in this elbows up world and all the stuff that started in the last year or so, you want to be buying Canadian, guys. And part of this segment on this show is to teach people the Canadian brands out there that you can buy in replacement of the big corporate American brands. So Kawartha Dairy, buy Canadian ice cream is what I'm saying. It's the summertime coming up. So you're going to want to get that ice cream, that little icy treat from the heat.
That's right. That's right. Fiercey's saying this. Some players at her level get benched and don't realize it's because they miss practice a lot or are always late to games or practice. You want to play? Be serious about it. I really do feel like this was part of the factoring in for the Tempo's cuts at the end of their training camp, that I think Kitty Laxa just didn't care enough about being a Tempo. And well, hasta la vista, baby. Nina Milic got done the same time as Julie Alamon with their Fenerbahce run in Europe. And Julie came straight over, and Nina waddled and waited a little bit. And well, hasta la vista, baby. It's just that kind of stuff. So it's like, you never know who's watching you on what parameters if you're involved in trying to get a job or trying to get this or that. And they may be watching you for not just the skills on the court. They may be watching you for the person you are and things like that. I know that Bobby said, Bobby Webster, that when they're going to review rookies, if they're going to have meetings with them, if they're going to have a visit in Toronto at OVO Center to work out a player, they're not just watching them at OVO Center when they're on the court and looking at basketball stuff. They're watching them the whole time they're here. And they're watching them on how they treat subordinate employees and people that are involved in helping the support staff with the Raptors. And that is all taken into the account for whether this is a person they want to actually have around. They could literally have somebody be an amazing prospect, come in and be an amazing basketball player, but he's a horrible person. And Bobby Webster will not draft them because they went to dinner with them and they were mean to the server. So it's like you want to have a bona fideness to yourself that is very quality, and you never know what they're watching for. And that's one of the things that is a great piece of advice for Fiercey Jr. as she continues her basketball career journey. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, that's part of it right there. It's like they're paying attention. And some of the cuts for the Tempo this week may have very much had some of these factors involved. Let's just put it that way. Yeah, this is great stuff. Fiercey, I really appreciate your contributions to this channel. I really, really do. Let's see what else we got. We got a birthday today, guys. Let's say a happy birthday to the coach of the Sacramento Kings and former defensive stalwart for the Toronto Raptors for many years, Doug Christie. Doug Christie is 56 today, 56 years old. He did not get fired from his job from this year, but he might still. I don't know. We'll have to see what happens. Doug played 5 years in a Raptors jersey, 314 games. He started 299 of them. He had his highest scoring percentage in his NBA career as a Raptor, averaging 14 points per game. And of course, he was one of the best steals guys in the history of the Raptors. He averaged 2 steals a game the whole entire 5 years he was on the Raptors. Just about 3.5 rebounds, about 4.5 assists, and he shot 80%, 82% at the free throw line. So yeah, Doug Christie was an important scorer for the Raptors in their early 5 years, and somebody that we absolutely needed to carry our team before Vince showed up. So happy birthday to Doug Christie. Yeah, former Raptor and coach of the Sacramento Kings. That's our birthday for Raptors birthday for the day. Yeah, that's the on the birthday charts. Let's see, what else do we got? Well, we're at 2.5 hours. Maybe I'll wrap it up real soon. Let's do the classic card. Hopefully we do better with the classic card than we did yesterday. I had a really good opportunity for the classic card yesterday, but we didn't have it happen. Should we try the card that we were going to do yesterday, guys? Do you want me to try and do it now? Let's see. We'll reattempt it, guys. All right? We'll reattempt it. I do need the pen to do it. So let me see here. All right, guys. The classic card, if you weren't here yesterday, is the Charlotte Hornets of 1989-90. I want y'all to name the 11 players that are on here along with their coach. So who was the roster of the Charlotte Hornets in 89-90? Look at that. Fiercey's on it already. She wants Muggsy Bogues. Muggsy Bogues is on here. So Fiercey's going to take that one. We would have taken Tyrone Bogues, of course. This pen don't work. What's going on here? Get it all. Oh, there we go. It's going now. Dell Curry is on there for sure. Grandmama? Larry Johnson? No, Larry wasn't on this team, unfortunately. This was before Larry. Larry had not been on the Hornets that year. Let me see. What is the year on there that it says? It's 1990. 1990 Hornets, guys. So it's not J.R. Reed is on here, Slug DZ. Yes, J.R. Reed. So we'll put Slug down for J.R. Reed. Okay, we've got 3. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 more players and the coach. If you know who the coach was, you can tell me that too. But no grandmama. All right, one of the names on this list was famous for his dunking while he played, but now he's more famous for his political takes on social media. So if you can figure that one out. This player was very famous for his dunking when he played in the NBA, but these days he's more outspoken politically on social media, and a lot of people follow him for his political views. Let's see, Kenny Gaddison. You got it, man. Yeah, Kenny Gaddison is on this list. That's crazy, Slug. That's a deep cut right there. My clue yesterday was his name is pretty much the same as the Cavs coach. Kenny Atkinson, Kenny Gaddison. So, yeah, Slug, you get the Kenny Gaddison. Ralph Lewis. I've never heard of that name. Cream got the guy I was just describing is Rex Chapman, the dunker, who's now a political poster. Gene Littles is the coach. Slug Deasy got that. Gene Littles was the coach at that time. That's good because he's kind of a forgotten Hornets coach. All right, so we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 names left. Dick Harder was before Gene Littles. Dick Harder was the coach before Gene Littles, but not anymore. Kurt Rambis. Was Kurt Rambis on this team? No. But let's see. One of the guys on this list played part of his career in the Nets, then also the Hornets, and he is currently a broadcaster for the Chicago Bulls at this point in his career, in his life. He's on the studio show for the Bulls. Yeah, I'll give you guys more clues. They're coming. So, yeah, this guy, one of the names, played for the Hornets at this time, 90, but he also played for the Nets at a certain point. But now he's a broadcaster for the Bulls in the in-studio kind of calling games there. He did call a 905 game recently. Armand Gilliam is on this list. Slug Deasy just going by memory. Yep, the Hammer is on the list. Armand Gilliam. So Slug's getting that one. Let's see. What about a clue for another guy? We have our guy, Mr. Phillips, who does his words of wisdom. If you know his first name, that's the first name of one of the players here. Yeah, and he has his last name is similar to the second round pick of the Toronto Tempo this year. So there's a clue right there. His first name is the same name as our great Raptor freak, Mr. Phillips. And his last name is this almost the same name as our second round pick for the Tempo in the WNBA draft just recently. So if you can figure that one out right there. And another name on here has the first name of Mr. Appleseed and the last name of Young the Restless Victor. How about that? That's another one there. Randolph Keys is the answer I was looking for. Randolph Phillips and Tiani Key. So, yeah, Randolph Keys is one of the names on this list. So, Fiercey's going to get Randolph Keys. Playoff Open Gym dropped today. Awesome. Yeah, I guess right around noon is when it drops. It's going to drop right now. Ralph Lewis is not on the list. I don't know. You guys keep saying Ralph Lewis, but he's not on the list. He's not one of the people here. All right. As I said, first name, Appleseed. Second name, Victor from Young and the Restless. That's right. Yeah, you know, whoa, you're going to give the last name right there. You put the last name down just now. That'll get Slug Deasy a seagull of a little food to grab it from you, just like a French fry on a little kid's plate, and a seagull come and took it at Ontario Place. That's right. Yeah. So what is Appleseed's first name? The legend. And then put it with that last name that Fiercey just put there. You get it. You'll get the name. One of the names on here. We also got a guy on here who has the same first name as the creator of Wendy's. And his last name is kind of like a weird name. Like, Fiercey. It's not really John Newman because it's Johnny Appleseed. I don't know. I wish I had an impartial judge here. Is John Newman? He's never been called John Newman. Never, ever. He was always Johnny Newman. So I have him in a quandary here. In some ways, I want to give it to Slug Deasy because in some ways, I asked Mr. Appleseed, and it's always Johnny Appleseed, not John Appleseed. So I'm going to give it to Slug Deasy, unfortunately. because he got it more correct. It's Johnny. His name was never John. I don't think they ever called him John, ever, on broadcast. He was always Johnny. He was always a Johnny, is what he was. So Slugged Easy, I'm going to give him that one. I'm being a little picky there, Fiercey. I apologize. All right. Who is the guy who played for the Hornets at this time, but he also had a huge chunk of his career in New Jersey playing for the Nets, and he's currently a studio analyst for the Chicago Bulls. We had him call a 9:05 game this season. I was like, oh, he's calling a 9:05 game. It's interesting. Yeah, that's right. Kendall Gill is the answer for that one. That is who I was looking for there. He played for the Nets for a long time, played for the Hornets, and he is currently working for the Bulls at this point. So Slug's getting that one. All right, we have only 2 more names left. Wow, you guys are night and day from yesterday. Nobody came in here to do this yesterday, and I put the card away because I was so sad. But we have 2 more names left. One of them is a former Detroit Piston who was on the Bad Boys team, got traded out, kind of like Adrian Dantley, before they won the championships. But he was a player that played alongside Isaiah Thomas and Bill Laimbeer for a few years in Detroit. And yeah, there you go. Stargate knows who it is. It's Kelly Tripucka, is exactly right. So Stargate getting on the board with Kelly. It didn't spell the name exactly right, but it don't matter. Yeah, that's who I was looking for, Kelly Tripucka. The last name is the same first name as the owner of Wendy's in all the commercials. Eric Lechner's a good guess. He wasn't on this team, though. The first name is the owner of Wendy's, and the last name, kind of like the woman on Survivor, whose name was Flippin. He has a name that's kind of like Flippin, but it's kind of for playing basketball. Like, it's funny. Her name is Emily Flippin, and she got voted off Survivor this week. She's kind of flipping all the time. There you go. Fiercely got it. Dave Hoppin. That's right. Dave Hoppin. Dave Thomas of Wendy's fame, of course, the deceased owner of Wendy's that used to be in all the commercials. Dave, and Hoppin was the last name. Kind of go like with Emily Flippin, Dave Hoppin. Yeah, good job, y'all. Good job. Yeah, she got you just before you got that one. Flip hop. All right, so the final answers were for the Charlotte Hornets in 1990 on this skybox card, which is very cool. The team was Muggsy Bogues, Tyrone Muggsy Bogues. Fiercey got that one. Rex Chapman, Kareem Thomas. Del Curry, Fiercey. Armand Gilliam, Slugged Easy. Dave Hoppin, Fiercey. J.R. Reed, Slugged Easy. Kelly Tripucka, Stargate. Kendall Gill, Slugged Easy. Kenny Gaddison, Slugged Easy. Randolph Keys, Fiercey. Johnny Newman, Slugged Easy. And Gene Littles, Slugged Easy. So it looks like Slugged Easy got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 out of the 11. So that will be 1,200 points added to your Raptor Freak trivia score, Slugged Easy. And I'll add everybody else's scores in there too. And I'll go ahead and post the overall Raptor Freak trivia standings for this point of the season. Of course, the trivia season will end when the Larry O'Brien is handed out to the NBA champion, and we will begin a new season as soon as the NBA season's over, with the championship going out at the end of the finals. So, yeah, that's how it is. J.R. Reed was on that team as well. Wow. Yeah, he was a rookie around that time. He had just been drafted out of UNC, and he was on that team. That was very early in his career. And, of course, we know J.R. Reed went to the Spurs and played alongside David Robinson and them at a certain point. Yeah. Yeah. All right. Tomorrow, we have a special Sunday report. The Sunday report is back because we're in the off season. And tomorrow's Sunday report is going to be the countdown of the Raptors stars for the season. I'm going to do a countdown from the very bottom to the top of the number one Raptor for the year in my star system. I have to tabulate it this afternoon. I'm going to do a bunch of work on that. And I'll come back tomorrow with the results and present them to you tomorrow at 9:30 a.m. The Raptors stars of the year will be our stream tomorrow. So I hope you'll join me tomorrow for Raptor Stars of the Year. And then Monday Moment, Tuesday Trivia. And then Wednesday, a preview for the Tempo versus the Storm. That's right. Yeah, 4 WNBA games today. Dallas Wings versus the Fever. Should be interesting. 4 number 1 picks: Boston, Clark, Booker, Becker, and Fudd. Yeah, well, it seems like a marquee matchup. I've already noticed that the WNBA's coverage ignores the Tempo already. Yeah, just like the Raptors. And you'd think they would have made a big deal out of the history yesterday of it being international, but there isn't a single article on ESPN's WNBA main page that highlights history made as the first international game is played in the WNBA in the regular season. Nothing on this. Crickets. So I fully expect the Tempo to get not the exposure, the same thing that the Raptors get, where they ignore us and they're not going to put anything out on us in the U.S. media, especially ESPN. And they're going to probably consider, oh, TSN and them up there will take care of covering the Tempo like that, just like the way they treat the Raptors. So there could very well be the similar disconnect with the perception of the Tempo that the Raptors deal with, because people just down there are not getting exposed to them. Although the one thing that isn't a factor is WNBA fans are more of a family and like watching WNBA teams across the board, not just theirs. And also the fact that the Tempo have a lot of games on national television in the United States will help combat this also. But it does seem like already the newscasters and places where people cover the WNBA are already ignoring the Tempo. Let's just put it that way. Yeah. Let's see. Fiercely saying, I will watch Portland's game. I'm intrigued to see how they will do. W stream, fam. Yeah, I expect the Fire to be even worse than us and not clicking and not on the same page at all, because they're on the same schedule as us. And there's no way that Bridget Carlton and that crew over there has got their shit together more than we do. So that'll be one thing that'll be very interesting, Fiercey, to watch, is just see how unorganized the Fire are today also. Because that, in a lot of ways, this is what happens when you come in as two teams in an expansion year. You're gauging yourself against the team that came in at the same time as you. Because it's kind of like y'all started the foot race at the same time from the starting line. And, well, you want to gauge your progress against the team that started at the same time as you, not the teams that have been established and been around longer. So we'll have to see. We'll have to see. Trevor's saying, I'm going to be watching WNBA games today in NBA playoffs with Cleveland and Detroit. Yeah, Cleveland's in trouble. This is a do or die game for the Cavs right now. Yeah, the playoffs, I stopped watching them just like Coach Darko. I'm not watching any of these games since the Raptors got eliminated. So be it. I got gardening and Tempo to do next. That's my off season now. Watch the Toronto Tempo, cover the WNBA Tempo, and get outside and be outside in the good weather. That's the time what I do at this point, especially with Mother's Day coming up tomorrow. It's time to put your seeds in the ground. That's right. All right, y'all, let's get out of here. I appreciate everybody for watching. Once again, the Tempo had their first game ever, historic and very, very cool. They lost, and my 5 stars of the game for the game last night were Marina Mabry, Brittany Sykes, Niara Sabali, Laura Yuscate, and Kia Nurse are the 5 stars I have for the game. Honorable mention to Julie Alamo. There you go. All right, y'all. I'll see y'all at 9:30 tomorrow morning. Raptor Freak, Tempo Freak, out. And I'll see you for the Sunday report, 9:30 a.m. every single day. Raptor Freak is here. We're going to be covering the WNBA all summer. Going forward, it's going no off season for Lex. I do not take time off. I'm doing this show every single day, 365 days a year. So you can count on it. If you have your fix to want to talk about basketball in Canada, whether it's the Tempo, whether it's the Raptors, whether it's the Raptors 905, whether it's the Canadian Elite Basketball League, whether it's the Team Canada basketball program under Rowan Barrett Sr., any of this stuff is fair game to talk about on this channel. All right, I'll see you guys tomorrow. Let's go Tempo.